Rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Councilmember Bardini? Here. Councilmember Totino?
Present.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Rye?
Here.
Supervisor Albro?
Here. I just have to, one item for special consideration regarding a stop sign, schools zone sign on Jackson. So I'd like to amend the agenda to add this item of special consideration. Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye. I have a couple things too.
You want to ask some stuff?
Yeah. Well, so first I'm going to ask the supervisor to read the language in section 14 on the agenda.
Okay. The guideline for public comment?
Yes.
I mean, should I just read them both? The one in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So when we get to guidelines for public comment, I don't know if I can read it all here. Let's see. Members of the public may speak during the privilege of the floor.
No,
Which
not
one?
that one. In the portion of the town board.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you did say, do you want me to just read the first one first?
Yeah, it's
What do you want me to do, John?
just the second one.
All right. Guideline for public comment. On the portion of the town board meeting, public comment on agenda items, speakers are requested to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Speakers are not to yield any remaining time to other speakers. Public comments on matters other than agenda may not be presented during this period of the town board meeting.
So why all of a sudden are we limiting our speakers to 3 minutes? When every meeting that we have, you get up there and brag about how long people are allowed to speak. Tonight, you're limiting them to 3 minutes.
I'll withdraw that. Can I make a motion to withdraw that? Can I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I have one more motion.
go on.
To, in the resolution 5 and 6 on our agenda, I would like to flip-flop. I had requested the town clerk to put our resolution in ahead of time, and it was in before the supervisor's resolution that went through. And on the agenda, it's flip-flopped. So I'm asking if we can go back to what I had asked for.
This is for police commissioners,
Yes.
this is 5 and 6 on resolutions. So
Well, if he wants to amend it, make a motion to amend.
I make a motion to amend
Just vote no.
the agenda, flip-flopping 5 and 6.
second.
Moved and seconded.
I guess we need a roll call.
Well, I was going to say, Councilmember Bardini?
Nay.
Councilmember Totino?
Nay.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Albro?
No, motion fails. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, roll call adoption, acceptance of minutes. We have no minutes. The first up is a public hearing for local law to amend Chapter 29, Police Force, repeal Article 3, Police Commission, and reenact provisions for creating an Office of Police Commissioner. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second to open up the public hearing?
Second.
Bardini, all in favor? We want a roll call vote?
No. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
No.
No, 4-1. Okay. So Brian Rye is a no.
Okay.
All right, so now is the opportunity to speak for or against the police commission. Anybody wish to speak? This is the time to do it.
Good evening, members of the council. Eddie Colon, resident of the town of Fishkill. As I try to run this thing into my head and try to come to a solution and trying to get my mind set, I can't come to that decision. So I'm here to speak on the behalf that of the town and on my opinion. This is my opinion only, okay? I believe that the town of Fishkill does not need a police commissioner, okay? And other than that, I believe that with these resolutions here today, the decision is already made. This decision, the water in this well is already poisoned. This decision was made way back in 2024, early 2024. And I believe that this position is a political appointing favor. I don't like it, but it's not my choice. I feel that the town residents in here is being betrayed. I feel that there's no other way to say this, but you made a promise. You made a promise to the devil, and now you have to sleep with him. Okay? This is not right. My belief on this, it should have been that the town residents should have the opportunity to vote on this. Because right now, let me ask you a question. How many applicants applied?
6.
6. Did this application went in front of the board to review it?
All the board members have the applications.
The question is, did the members review it and you all come to the conclusion to only select 2 people?
The 2 board members on my left presented a candidate. They didn't interview anybody else either.
So, I hate to say this, but this is a done deal. It's a done deal. So, we could have 100,000 residents from the town of Fishkill here and speak on this public meeting here, and nothing is going to convince none of you, because this is a political favor. And I didn't like it at the beginning, and I don't like it now. Okay? You think that we don't have problem with the police department? Huh. Wait till this position gets filled, if this candidate goes through.
Totally disagree.
I've been trying to get in contact with the police chief 3 times. Okay? No answer. How do you expect my community to get together with the police and work along with the police department if we don't get no answer? What do you think is going to happen when you select this person, this candidate, as a commissioner? My odds, 0 to none. Okay? And this person has a record that's sued the town of Fishkill twice, and he has a pending lawsuit. What's going to happen 6 months from now that he's not up to your standards, and you decide to terminate this person? What are we going to wait for, another lawsuit? Because this is what it is. It's a revolving door at the taxpayer's expense. Okay? It could have been, they could have chosen a better person. And I disagree with this, and I really, I'm kind of upset about it, and it's a shame that the people that I have faith on can't trust no more. Can't. I thought I had good faith in this board, but I don't. I don't, because this was a dirty trick. Again, that's my opinion, my view, and I have the right to say whatever I have. Maybe, who knows? Maybe when I walk out of this door tonight, I probably see somebody following me and pulling me over because I just say something that I wasn't supposed to say. I disagree with it. They could be your best friends, but to this, and you know from the beginning, I was disagreeing with this from the beginning. But no, it was a favor. You scratch my back, I scratch your back, and I remember the famous word: they did it wrong, I'm going to make it right. And I remember also the famous word: he will never be a police chief. Granted, you kept your promise, never be a police chief. But we made him higher. We made him a police commissioner. Wow. Now he has control over the whole power. Pretty soon, he's going to get a town car, go on calls, go to crime scenes. It's beyond. So therefore, you can't have 2 kings in one castle. You can only be 1 king. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I have, this is my opinion again, but when you make a deal with the devil, you got to sleep with it. You're the one that has to sleep with it, not me. My conscience is clear.
Thank you, Mr. Malone.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hold on a second. Quick break.
Before we move to further comments, I would ask the attorney to confirm if what I'm saying is correct, but public comments during this hearing should be related to the establishment of the position of police commissioner and should not make reference to any individuals who may be under consideration for appointment to that post.
Greg is correct in that. The only thing I'd say is that there's
Mr.
a
Gabb, if you can use the
general,
microphone.
Greg is correct in that. The only thing I'd say is there's a general comment period coming up. There's a resolution on for appointment to the police and position of police commissioner, and you should probably wait until that.
Well,
to
I didn't
talk about
mention a name.
individuals. Well,
Did I mention
yeah,
any
yeah,
name? And as long as the name is here,
But
I
you're
have the right.
I'm not saying you don't have a right to say it. I'm just saying, just for purposes
I
of
just
facilitating
made-
the public hearing on the law, try to talk about the law,
Well,
that's all.
I made my comments, and I think I have the right to make those comments. Correct? You, the attorney.
It's a public hearing on the law. You shouldn't be talking about appointees to the
Well,
position.
you know
You should be
something,
talking
then?
about the law.
Then I said what I had to say because it's my right to say what I have to say. Okay?
I wasn't interrupting you. You were able to get in your whole statement. I'm just advising for future speakers that the comments should be tailored towards the merits or demerits of the law creating the position and not the
Mr.
merits
Councilman.
or demerits of any of the
Mr. Councilman,
candidates.
Mr. Councilman.
Sir.
How long you know me, Mr. Councilman?
Several years, sir.
Okay? Do I beat around the bush?
You do not.
Okay? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I am not going to be a hypocrite in front of all of you and in front of the town here. No, that's not Eddie Colon. I don't beat around the bush and I don't sugarcoat nothing. I told you that, guys, from the beginning.
Of course.
You want something sugar-coated? Go down to Route 9 to Dunkin' Donuts. I am not sugar-coated. I'm not a hypocrite. I'll tell you straight in your face. I don't beat around the bush. And I've been around the block before you guys even were born, except Mr. Bryan, okay? I've been around the block a long, long time.
I just turned
okay?
68.
All right? But what I have to say, I say it. Again, I'm not a hypocrite.
Eddie-
If I have to call you ugly, you ugly. Simple as that. I'm not going to beat around the bush.
Eddie,
And
can-
that's the way I feel. Yes, sir.
May I interject? I'm sorry to take up your time. But since you did not name a person's name, and you stated along with the position that you felt the position was being created for someone, that seems to me to be fair game for an open conversation, open commentary. I don't see how that's making it personal to an individual. That's your opinion, giving public comments.
You know, you know the story of the cobra?
Just let him finish.
Once you spit it out, you can't retrieve it. I spit it out. I'm not going to retrieve it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir. Sir?
Greg Carlin, Town of Fishkill resident. I wasn't going to speak today, but I'm glad the devil finally came for this position. A rogue police chief and upper echelons need someone there to buffer and to be a liaison between the police department and this town, because the police department does have some issues. The position, should have been created a long time ago. And I'm very pleased that the board decided to at least present a commissioner's position. Who gets it? Who knows? I haven't talked to the devil, but I will, because there's a lot of anger in this room for whatever reason, I don't know. I really don't. Against an individual who we all know who is being referred to. So thank you very much for bringing it up, and I hope that the election is exactly as it should be. And in fact, let me just tell you something. 1991, I met a guy by the name of detective here, by the name of Bud Priori. That was on the Elizabeth Prowl homicide case. A teacher in the city of Beacon High School that was murdered, disappeared. I got assigned to that case.
Identify your position back then so people know.
Back then, I was an investigator out of the Somers Barracks for New York State Police. I was chosen to work with Senior Investigator Bob Schraff out of Fishkill and Investigator Hal Bloomer out of Fishkill on that case, because I grew up in Beacon. 2 weeks later, and I met Detective Priori, Scott Bierce's stepfather at the time.
I asked him a question.
And we solved that case 2 weeks later. And I found that Don Williams, the detective division for the town of Fishkill, were unbelievable in aiding and serving the public back then. I met Scott back at that time. I've known him for over 30 years, and I think he's a great guy and a good choice.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Greg, real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. What rogue chief are you referring to?
What?
You said rogue?
Yeah, I didn't care for the last chief that was in. The department was upside. In fact, he took my advice and left. What's his name?
No one knows.
Okay.
No one knows.
I didn't know who you
All
were.
right.
Okay.
Louise, if you're going to be a candidate, I don't think you should speak.
Well, on the creation of the law,
I have the
she
right
has
to
every
speak. This is a public
Okay.
hearing, so I can speak, just like anybody else can
Yes.
speak, Supervisor.
Okay.
So maybe you
Absolutely.
should talk to the attorney before you speak next time. Louise Daniele, legal resident over 33 years. I'm not really sure why the person that just came up before me was allowed to give his history on what he did and who he knew. Has nothing to do with our public hearing, but he was allowed to speak through you, saying it was okay. I do not believe the town needs a police commissioner. I believe the town needs to do a broad search for a chief who has no ties to any political parties or any people in our town. In 2020, when the supervisor brought up the idea of creating a police commissioner and chose only one person for the job, I was opposed to that as well, as there wasn't even a process for applicants to apply. Only one person, and he was chosen by the supervisor for consideration. In 2022, a new majority of the board decided to remove the police commissioner position and replace it with a police commission consisting of the elected board members. Now we are in 2025, and the supervisor again has brought up the idea of having a police commissioner. It appeared from his words at the January 2nd meeting that he had only one person in mind. I would like to note the changes from the 2020 version of the police commission law. The 2025 version states, "The police commissioner will act as the chief administrative officer of the police department." Previously, he would only assist with duties, not act. The 2025 version states, "The chief of police shall report to the police commissioner, who in turn shall report to the town board," meaning the chief reports to the commissioner now, instead of equally reporting to the board. When the police commissioner was created in 2022, when the police commission was created in 2022, it had to report weekly to the police commission. The chief had to report weekly to the police commission. In 2025, the chief will now inform the police commissioner of matters monthly, not weekly. That doesn't sound like oversight and transparency. That sounds like the way it used to be, which is unacceptable. The new law says the initial investigation of all complaints against members of the PD shall be made by the chief or his designee. Is the police commissioner going to be considered his designee? So will the new civilian police commissioner be investigating police officer complaints? And I have a question regarding the duplicate copies of personnel files. We currently have no human resource director. I don't believe the newly hired legislative aide has the proper civil service authority to handle such files. And if it is you, Supervisor, that may be a problem as well. As you once told me when we began on the town board, the police department runs itself. As I have said in the past meetings, the police department pendulum is swinging to a different political side, and you, Supervisor, should not be a part of it. To remain impartial, you should not be involved in PD personnel files at all. In closing, I would just like to say my opinion. The creation of the new current police commission law will not promote health, safety, and welfare in our town. If the goal is civilian oversight, how will we see what is going on if you require specific reports monthly instead of weekly? Putting the power to communicate necessary information back to the board in the hands of the wrong person will set our police department and town back decades, and we need to be moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Diane Mochkowitz. I just, sitting there in the audience, I just would like to know, why is it when Ms. Danielle was speaking, Ozzy and Greg were like, and passing notes back and forth? That's rude. And if you should be listening to the person who's up here trying to address you with concerns, that's just not okay. Okay? And now I have a question for the supervisor. Was this position, because now it's been deemed a position, I'm assuming, it was not on the town's site. When you go to employment, an error comes up. It was only showing up on Facebook. And was it advertised in the local newspapers at all? Is there an answer?
We sent out the advertisement through our town email system, which covers almost every resident in the
And
town.
what about seniors that don't go on the computer? Was it in the newspaper?
No,
And was it on the town website
I don't know.
under employment?
I don't know.
How do you not know that? Isn't that your job?
My job, I advertise, somebody asked me to advertise it, and I advertise it through our email system.
Through your email system. So if
Yes.
you're not in the email system, you weren't aware that this was an actual job being put out there. Okay. And if you're not allowed to speak about the candidates that are coming up for this position, the gentleman before Ms. Daniele actually did. And you didn't say a word to him not to mention the name. So that's not okay either. I just had a question. You had a liaison position at one point that you withdrew from the agenda at $24,000. And that you now put in favor of a $35,000 police commissioner position. And I think this question was just asked, is what happens when the board changes and they then vote again to remove the position like it was last time? What happens to that position then?
What position?
The position of police commissioner.
It
If
would
the
be-
board
it would-
changes
it would be
and the
eliminated.
current board decides that they don't want that, then that can be voted away again, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And how would a liaison not serve the same purpose of an unbiased go-between between the board and the police chief? Because after all, the police chief I don't know what his current salary is, but a police chief should be in charge of the police department. And Greg had said that the problem was that the police chief could not speak between the board members. So why wouldn't a liaison serve that position? Because I don't think there was a problem with the board being the police commission. It seemed that the problem was certain board members with the past chief. So it seemed like a liaison position at $11,000 less would have been a better option than putting in a police commissioner's job that's going to then give all the power to a police commissioner. And again, what would prevent then, if that commissioner had any animosity towards any board members, the same situation that you're trying to avoid right now? There is no definitive, there would be no problems, because there could be problems. And so if you put in a police commissioner's job at $35,000, then why is there a police chief? And the police chief gets, I'm assuming, $35,000, perhaps more, I really don't know. Could you tell me what is the police chief's salary?
It's probably, look, there's four administrators in the town of Fishkill. Previously, we had a chief and 3 lieutenants.
Yes, I know, and you took away a lieutenant position,
I took-
which is boots on the ground police, to sacrifice
You know,
his
you
salary.
won't let me finish, I'm not gonna answer any
Well,
more
you
of your
didn't
questions.
answer the question
So
I
go
asked you.
on.
What
I'm
is
not
the
gonna-
police chief's salary?
Probably around 35.
Okay. So you need to have a police chief at $35,000 and a commissioner's job created at $35,000. When the commissioner is going to basically doing all of the work of the police chief except riding around and saying that I'm the police chief.
The dynamic is going to change. We're gonna have a chief, a commissioner, and 2 lieutenants. That's the way it's gonna be set up. So there'll be 4 administrators before, 4 administrators today. Same salaries.
It's
Nothing's
not-
really gonna change.
Nothing's going to change.
No, it's gonna be better communication between the town
So
board
you're
and the police
taking away a
department.
lieutenant, which is an actual
I'm not taking away a
policeman.
lieutenant.
You're not.
There's 4 administrators, 4. The combination is gonna be chief, commissioner, and 2 lieutenants. That's the combination.
And currently, it's chief and 3 lieutenants,
And that
right?
was, and the previous board
And-
made a bad move, because previously, since 1972.
Well, that's your opinion.
Oh, okay.
That's your opinion.
I got
What
it.
I'm asking is, why would you want to take an actual officer off of police work to turn around and put a commissioner in who basically has all the power and is not an acting policeman? He cannot, I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but if he's not allowed to be an acting police officer, then he's basically, on paper, he can answer without you, Greg, saying, no, don't answer, don't say this, don't say that. You know, you think that people don't see that?
No, I do not particularly care if people see it or not.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to ensure that no one at the table interrupts you while you're speaking.
No, you're not. Literally, that's just, okay, so you're saying this job was only advertised through the email and it appeared in Facebook somewhere, maybe, or no, it didn't. But it didn't appear in the newspapers and it didn't appear on the town employment site. So how is that even giving people that would be going to the town employment site looking for a way to apply for this any notice that this even existed? If they don't watch the meetings, or if they don't come to the meetings, or if they're not on your email list. So how is that a fair realm of people that maybe wanted to apply for this? And in reading something, and I know I'm not allowed to go there right now, but Ms. Daniele, I believe, at one of the previous meetings, had offered to do this position for zero salary, therefore saving you $35,000, and you would be allowed to still keep that other lieutenant on the ground. No, she didn't.
Why would I put somebody as commissioner where they don't believe in the job? Why should I do that? You said you didn't like being put in the position.
There we go. All right. So this, what other point in this little thing that's going on here, will the public be allowed to speak again before the vote?
Yes.
When?
Two more times.
When?
Public comment and comment on agenda items.
That's a pretty good agenda.
It's a pretty good agenda. So before the vote happens,
Yes,
will
ma'am.
there be a public
Yes,
time
ma'am.
again?
Yes, ma'am.
It may be at midnight, but there will be another time again.
No, I would anticipate about 8:30, 9.
All right. This is just, the fact that if you have a police chief who could do their job properly and be able to have a board and a police chief coexistence where people act as adults and can communicate as adults, you wouldn't need an additional $35,000 job. And then again, you're giving that person all the power. So I think at the January 2nd meeting, Greg had said, well, we don't want to be put in that position, but historically the board has been the police commission. Up until you voted a commission in before, and then it was kicked back out again. So it was kicked back out for reasons. Maybe they're not the reasons you like, but to spend that kind of money on something that is then giving the chief little more than a title and a car to ride around in, it just doesn't seem to be a wise move. And there'll be public discussion
Yes,
before
ma'am.
the vote
Yes,
on the
ma'am.
candidate. How many candidates do we have right now?
2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to speak?
Teresa Kraft. I agree with many of these speakers. I strongly believe you should move this provision creating the Office of Public Police Commissioner forward and not as a rehire. Get rid of the damaged baggage, especially when there are legal irons in the fire. It will never set well. Fishkill should make new history. Residents will be more respectful to see progress and not nepotism. Louise has my respect. Don't let this be a vendetta. I too was at the January meeting when she offered her highly qualified police career experience at a discount offer. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Dave Cleater. You said earlier that there were 6 applicants Were there any interviews, or apparently none of this wasn't really advertised? Does that make any sense to anybody here?
We have a robust email system where almost every resident of the town of Fishkill gets our emails. The position is for Fishkill residents, so I think probably 80% of the residents got this. There were 6 applicants, 2 were civilians. One lady was pretty good. Then there was one person that did not live in the town of Fishkill. You have to live in the town of Fishkill to get this position, so that dropped it down to 5. Then 2 were civilians, and one lady as a civilian. I was thinking about that, as we have a New York City police commissioner who's a female and not a cop. She's doing a pretty good job. I considered her. And then we had Councilwoman Daniele, former Officer Beers, and then there was one gentleman from the city of Peekskill that retired that had an application in here.
All right, were they actually interviewed, or did you just make these decisions on the resumes?
Well, I made the decision based on no one had a better resume than Mr. Beers. That's why I'm promoting him.
You said earlier that several of the people didn't live in Fishkill?
But one didn't live in Fishkill.
Did you even see if they were willing to move to Fishkill to?
No, I did not.
To qualify?
No, I did not.
So what was the vetting process?
The vetting process was, number 1, who lives in the town of Fishkill, and if they had some police experience or if they were extraordinary, I would consider a non-police officer. So that dropped it down to 3 people.
But you did no actual interviews of these individuals?
There was no need to when I saw the best applicant there. That's what I'm moving forward.
Okay. Seems like a poor vetting process to me.
Thank you, sir.
Marie Campanaro. Previously, I've been up here, as you well know. I never thought we needed this position, and I still don't think we need it. We had problems before, Greg has mentioned, because certain members of the board did not get along with the former police chief. Well, the police chief is supposed to report to the board. And regardless of personality, you're professionals. And that is what comes first and foremost. All of you, including the police chief, police department, represent the town. And I will tell you, I am extremely disappointed in what I have seen here sitting tonight. I honestly think a lot of the comments are very unprofessional. I am flabbergasted to think that our town officials are behaving like this. Resumes were sent out. Well, you said, I saw it on .gov, I received it. You said you got resumes more than this. I only see 2 here, okay? Why should they not have been open for other people to see? And getting back to the law, like Greg says, it should be on the law, or I'll get back to the law. I agree with Councilwoman Daniele, the way that this reads. And then a lot of it's duplication. That's what the police chief's supposed to be doing. We don't need an extra layer of administrative people here. You have a police chief who's supposed to have the police chief control the police department. I do not see any need for that, and report to a board. You're all professionals. And please, for the residents' sake, you were elected into office. Let's all act as one, as residents and officials of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Justice. I'm a town of Fishkill resident. I'm speaking solely as a resident. Looking at this from the beginning, we definitely need civilian oversight of the police department. I don't have a problem with that, but currently that's your job with the police commission. And I don't understand why you're giving that role to another person. If you had issues with the previous chief, that's fine. Clearly there are, under normal circumstances, 5 adults and the town supervisor representing us. You guys should be in a position to figure that out. But you want to go in this direction. I still have a lot of other questions about this. Last year, or in 2023, the town's council could speak to it. New York State passed a labor law as it relates to pay transparency. I did receive the email that you talked about, or you referred to earlier, that you were advertising for a police commissioner. There was no real description of the responsibilities, and there was no mention of pay. And based on, I think it's labor law 194B, you can go look it up on your own time, that ad is not legal. Even with that in mind, I still have an issue with taking the responsibility that we elected you guys to do and giving it to somebody else. In fact, once again, there's a question for you, Counselor. I think if you take power away from the board, there has to be a referendum. That said, before you guys proceed with this, I would hope that someone would look into this or otherwise assert that you're able to do this without asking the people of the town to vote on it. I don't understand why. I looked at the law, I looked at the current law. Current law makes it clear that the police commissioners, the town board, not members of the police department. No such distinction exists in the proposed law. I don't, if we're going to have a civilian commissioner, it should be very clear in the law that this person is not a part of the police department. I don't understand, if we're going to have a discussion about it, this is definitely something that we need to take our time with and really examine how this is going to work, because to echo the comments of a lot of people who spoke before me, this looks like you're just sticking a person in there. I'm not getting into the who and the why because it's not really important. We elected you guys to exercise oversight over the police department, and all I'm seeing now is that you want to put another person in there, have the chief be responsible to that person, and have the person be responsible to you when we elected you to do this. So I would hope in your comments and discussion later on, forget about the candidates and how you got there, that there's somebody, presumably the town council, looking at how compliant this entire thing is, because forget about the people involved and all the other, chit-chat. I'm not really concerned about that. We have issues with our police department. No one's arguing against that. However, I think that this solution is way broader than it needs to be. If you don't like the police chief or there's an issue with the police chief, replace the police chief. But we should not be in a position where now the chief has to curry favor with the commissioner, to curry favor with the board. We don't need that kind of bureaucracy. We're not that big. I don't know how many other towns in New York State have police commissioners. I think it's only a handful that I can think of. I think Kingston has one. I believe New Paltz has one. There are a handful of them floating around. This is not an epidemic where we need this layer of bureaucracy on top of the guys and women who are working here in the police department. Let them do their job, and if the chief can't figure it out, it's your job as the town board, and I'm looking at you, Ozzy, but it's all of you, to resolve that. We don't need another person. We need the board to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Ruth Anderson. I'm a resident of Glenham, New York. But I also have an organization taking it to the streets, feeding and clothing the hungry with dignity. Yes, sir.
We're in a public hearing right now.
Oh,
I'll let you know when you can speak.
This public hearing?
It's a public hearing for the creation of a police commissioner.
Oh,
So
this is
you
not
will-
the regular?
Yeah,
No, that will happen shortly, but we're not there yet.
Give us 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll go back and
You'll be
sit
first on the
down.
next thing. Thank you. All right. Anybody else like to speak? All right. Make a motion to close the public hearing. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, okay. Thank you. Next up is introduction of new employees. So I know I have one new employee here. Come on up to the podium, just explain who you are and why you want to work for the town of Fishkill.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and I go to Beacon High School. And I want to work here because when I was younger, I'm working for the town of Fishkill after school program. But when I was younger, I went there because I went to Glenham, and it was like a really big part of my childhood, and I want to make the same impact on other kids. So.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Very good.
Sunlight.
Sunlight, right? All right. Next up is the privilege of the floor for general items. Ruth, you can speak now.
I get a second try.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Again, my name is Ruth Anderson, and I'm a resident of Glenham, New York. And I just want to say to the board, the last time I was here, I made a presentation, and I got such an overwhelming response from the board. I don't know the gentleman Joe, someone by the name of Joe called me.
Joe Perone, my secretary.
Joe Ferrone. I am so pleased. I could hear the joy in his voice, and it emanated through the phone. And as a result of that conversation or presentation that I made, he put out a 12,000 dump. And as a result of that, we have more volunteers as a part of taking it to the street, and the donations have been absolutely phenomenal. So all of us here, we live in New York, we live in this area. This past month or so has been brutal. -6, 10, I don't have to tell you, you know. So tonight, I'm actually here for the homeless on the street. I'm their voice, one of their voices. And we have some urgent winter needs, and I just wanted to pass that on to you. We desperately need coats for the winter. We need men's pants. We always need men's items, but we really need the sizes 28 to 36 and above, okay? We need briefs for the men and the women. And as you know, we need hat, gloves, and scarves. We need footwear. We need boots, we need heavy shoes, we need high-top sneakers, warmers, hand warmers, toe warmers, body warmers. And we're out on the street, and I need toe warmers, and it's just almost inconceivable how they can sleep on the street and stand on the street and wait for the food and clothing and hot coffee and things like that. So I am the contact, I have information, and in addition to that, all these items can be dropped off at 953 Main Street. Our headquarters is there adjacent to the Fishkill Church of the Nazarene. If you can do anything in that regards, be most appreciative. Secondly, we're having our first free benefit concert and awards ceremony for taking it to the streets. That will be held April 26th at the Salem Tabernacle Church. Our director and producer of this is a native individual from Beacon, a native of Beacon, and he is a regarded singer, actor, author, musician, and multi-creative artist. He has his own school, he's in movies, he's on Broadway, and as a result of rapport and his dedication to this community, even though he works around the United States and the world, he will be producing and directing this. And his name is Reginald Bennett, if you've ever heard of him. And he has his degree from the Boston Conservatory of Music. And I would certainly ask that you all come and support it. So in these packets, I have that information as well as our highlighted events for this year. So number one, if you have anything, I don't care if it's one item or more, I'd love for you to bring him because, as I said, it's brutal this winter. We're just one of the faces in the Hudson Valley that goes out and literally feed the homeless, the people you see with the carts, the ones you see sleeping in the alleyways. We love them and we serve them with dignity. So thank you for this time and this moment.
Our pleasure, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Rich Reisman, town resident. I'd like to make a couple comments. I know you just closed the public hearing on the police commissioner job. I wasn't going to say anything, but there were good comments made and good arguments made on it. Two candidates are are being considered for the position. I read those resumes, and those resumes are good. They're good. They're both good resumes. There's no doubt about it. My only problem is, do you need a police commissioner? Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that, because you discussed it already. Then I want to talk about the school zone on Jackson, okay? I'll be quick on this because I talked about this before. Excellent idea, school zone. Why? Because it's a school there. There's been a school there for 100 years. Okay, excellent idea. But unfortunately, that's not going to solve the problem of the speeding cars going down Jackson. And they barrel down there, and God forbid somebody's going to get hurt. The only answer to that is to put stop signs on the corner of Baxtertown and Osborne and Jackson, where they're all intersect. Three-way stop there. That would break the traffic up, because you stop. You got to stop sign. By the time anybody picks up speed, they'll be close to the church, to the school. But the speed will be considerably reduced because of the breakup with that stop sign. That's, and I know you talked about it before, and you said there was a problem putting stop signs there. I don't know what the problem is.
Do you remember, Brian?
I do. I mean, how you doing? I spoke to them and asked specifically, and you have to excuse me, it's been a while, so I don't remember all the codes and regulations and this and that I'm quoted as to why Dutchess County DOT won't do that there. And it's their road, you know, and there's no pushing them, no pressing them.
Okay, the question then is, they said they won't put signs there. Is it they won't put signs there, or they can't put signs there?
Well,
can they legally not put signs there? Is that what they're saying? Or is it too much trouble for them to put the signs there?
No, it's they won't because of their regs. So this would be something to you know, and I don't know how I agree with you because I live down past the school, etc. And you know that that traffic speed needs to be broken up. There's no doubt about it. But I guess it might be something that we need to coordinate with you, if you would like, and talk to our county legislator to see if they would look deeper into this. If you want to, you and I have talked before, we could talk about that. Is that appealing to you guys?
We could do a resolution asking our legislator to do something with this.
Okay.
Can we do
So
something like that, Mr. Galvin?
let's do that to make it formal from the town that we really want this, and reasons why they will or will not do it, and because it is. I even fuss at my wife the way she drives down there sometimes. So, oops, sorry, honey. But I agree with you. So we'll work on that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Maybe if the county's really giving you a hard time, maybe the town could put the county on notice.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Listen, if something happens here, you've been warned, you've been notified. I don't know the legality of that, Councilor,
well, there've been accidents since I've lived in my house.
Yeah.
On that stretch, there have been accidents. In fact, somebody died on a motorcycle accident right there, and airlifted out of that parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's God forbid, but it's going to happen, and
Thanks, Rich.
It breaks my heart to know that that's going to happen, and maybe the stop signs on the corners could have helped it. I don't know.
Okay.
But, okay, thank you.
I'll let you know the process in progress, okay?
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks, Mr. Eastman.
We can do a resolution for the next meeting?
I'll prepare a resolution, Ozzy, if that's what the board wants, but I have to tell you, the way the traffic engineering works is that you don't use stop signs as a means of controlling speed.
It's true.
It has to be for safety.
It has to be for safety.
And you can go to the county, but I'm pretty, and there's no harm in asking. You don't ask, you don't get. I completely understand that. And like I say, I'll prepare the resolution, but what they're going to say is we're going to, arguably at least, put in that it's a school zone, and the speed limit should be reduced, but they're gonna tell you it's an enforcement problem after that, and they're gonna tell you to put police officers out there, or those, you know, the speed signs that they put up to show your speed as this decrease, and they're gonna tell you to try to deal with it that way. Again, it doesn't
Well,
hurt to
I
ask,
think
but
independent of the question of the school zone, the reality is, and I live off of Baxtertown Road, that intersection, the right time of day, you take your life in your hands when you're there. It can be very dangerous, whether you're coming up Jackson and making a left, whether you're coming down Osborne Hill and going through that intersection, whether you're trying to pull out either way from Baxtertown. The fact that there are not stop signs anywhere on Jackson or Osborne Hill can throw people off, and I've seen a number of near misses. While I haven't seen an accident, there have been serious ones. And I think we could make a compelling case that it is a question of safety for the intersection itself, independent of considerations about a school zone down the road.
Let's make it separate.
Yes.
Let's do the resolution tonight for the special consideration for the school zone sign, and then we'll do another one for the request on the stop signs.
And if you present it that way, that it presents a danger to traffic per se, as opposed to a speed thing, I think you have a much better chance of getting somewhere.
Mr. Griesman's comments, he's not the only person who has spoken publicly to us about concerns about safety at that intersection, and separate and completely independent of any question about a school zone. You know, a good quarter mile down the road, this is an entirely independent issue that needs to be resolved.
And you're gonna have to loop in the highway superintendent.
I'm sure we can arrange for that.
Mr. Cole?
Yeah. Eddie Colon again. I totally agree with the gentleman here on that Jackson Avenue. You know, I seen, there was an incident there a couple of years ago, which I called, and they were doing some construction there, and the children from St. Mary's School, they were walking towards the library with the school teacher, and there was a car parked on the sidewalk. So I called, and to make sure they have an officer to come down there. So the kids had to walk into the street. So let me tell you something. When you walk, and I like to walk because I'm a walker, that's how I get to know my community and everything that goes into my community. When you walk down on Jackson Avenue, Baxtertown, and all the area, all the way past the cemetery, all the way to Route 9, you got to go into the church, get blessed by holy water, say 7 Hail Mary and 15 Our Fathers, because you don't know if you're going to come out of there. A couple of weeks ago, a car went into the wall. Okay? Baxtertown and Jackson. You know, it's a very dangerous, even dangerous, especially when there's no mercy of people stopping there. Before they used to have a police officer there, not no more. There's no more communication. That's what I was saying before. We need to communicate. We need to work with the community, especially in this situation. He's right. I give him 100%. And if I could stand with him with freaking sign that says stop, slow down, I will. Because something is bound to happen, and the part of every life matters. But think, put it in your mind for a second. Imagine a school kid running out of there, and guess what? He's going to end up in San Raymond Cemetery, so hard he's going to get hit. People, members of the council, please, let's do something about this. Not make laws, not write it on paper, because you know something, those pieces of paper in front of you hold as much ink that you could put. You know something, if DOT says no, we say yes. No, we're going to go for it. Even if we have to go through the same way we sat here and we sit here asking for votes to this and this and that, the same way I come up here and fight for the food pantry, we could get all together. Put all the politics aside and say, you know something? Our life matters. The children's here, the adults, okay? You know how many people want to go to church on Sunday from my community? But they're afraid to walk across the street. So what do they tell me? Hey, Eddie, could you give me a ride? Of course I'll give you a ride. Okay? But we have to do something about this, or else it's going to be a lot of victims there. And you know something? And when someone gets killed, I'm going to tell you one thing straight out, and I'm going to be honest. the victim's family will not want you near the funeral parlors on their services. Because the first thing they're gonna say, we spoke in there, we have people speaking in the town, and nobody gave a damn about it. Please, don't let that happen, because it could be one of your own. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Malvarosa?
Bob Malvarosa, 36-year resident of Fishkill. Take it from me, who drives over about 1,000 miles a week, back and forth to work and everything, and see, talking about this whole thing. You can put stop signs, you can do whatever. People rolling stop, people make right-arm reds when they're not supposed to make right-arm reds. It's really code enforcement, really, that's going to do something, because you can have somebody stop on top of Baxter, they'll slam on the gas and they'll be doing 60 to 70 miles an hour in no time. It's just the reality. I see it every day. I mean, tonight I was coming home from work and the guy was coming from a side street and he was coming so fast that I'm like looking saying, can he really make the stop at the corner? And I'm on Boston Post Road down in Mamaroneck. And he literally, I thought he made me flinch because that's how fast he's going. And then he just took off and cut in front of the guy in front of him. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I see that they put some grid boxes on 52. We actually need one right here on by the light by the diner, because they block that
Heath Boulevard
intersection to go into Heath, in the back of whatever, or my development. I actually saw a guy block a state trooper who was trying to come out, and he started screaming and yelling on his PA to move, his, because he needed to get out. He blocked, they constantly block the grids. We've gotten to that point up here, it's sort of like Manhattan and everywhere else. It's just too much traffic and they're blocking every intersection because they think they're gonna get that much closer. Like, where are you going? You're not letting nobody get in and out.
Yeah,
So somebody had to get out.
We put up 2 of those do not block the roads. One on Chia Party on 9D and one in front of Wheaton. It takes about 2 years for them to approve something like that. So it can get done, but it's a wait. So just want to let you know, I'll apply for it, but it takes a while.
That's fine. I mean, I push on them, I cut in front of them and I, give them, whatever, but I'm just telling you, I drive, it's the one thing, the bane of my existence of still working, 684, whatever it is, people driving on shoulders, trying to get by and cutting through shoulders, and it's just, so I get what everybody's saying, and you're really gonna be cognizant of what you're gonna be doing because people are distracted driving, and these cars are so much more, what do you want to say? They just accelerate and take off, and people have no clue how fast they're going sometimes. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
On that same subject of the school, and I find it very interesting that if you go through the village, anytime during school hours, right there by the firehouse, the village has got a police officer, making sure people are not making turns except for the buses. Why is it that the town of Fishkill, up until we don't want something terrible to happen, obviously this process of getting something done is going to take a while. Why can't they have a police officer sitting there? Maybe that lieutenant, that job that's going to be, disappeared, could be sitting there making sure that people see the presence of the police officer sitting there when the speed limit sign says 20 miles an hour, like if you go up into Wappingers by what I think it's Schaeff Road, by the school there is a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on that road during school days, from this hour till 6 o'clock at night. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe deem that a school zone, put a sign that says that, and for a little added bit of punch, have an officer sit there for a while. You'd be surprised how quick people will slow down if they think that when they go down that hill and past that church and past that school, they're going to get pulled over. And on that same thing, we used to have in Old Post, there used to be police that would drive through. We don't get that anymore. For a while, we were getting, at least once a day, somebody would come through. Maybe more police presence driving around and letting people know, hey, we're here, we care about you, instead of less police presence. And in the case of the school zone, that should be mandatory, bing bang, tomorrow morning, put a policeman there. Get on the thing to get school zone signs there with a specific time, so that when these kids are coming in and out and parents are the volume dropping off kids, that people are not going to be speeding, and God forbid somebody drops their kid off, or if a child is coming out of one of the neighboring areas going to school there. Because once something bad happens, you can't take it back. You can't sit there and shake your head and say, oh, you know, we should have, maybe we should. No, you have to do something. So if that's the least that you can do, and again, it's during the hours that people are dropping children off, and when children are getting picked up, have some presence there so people think twice before they fly down that hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Once again, Mike Justice, Town of Fishkill. Both my sons go to St. Mary. One's been there for 8 years. The other one's been there for 6 years. That entire drag has been a problem the entire time. There's the issue of sidewalks, not germane to the actual signs. But if you don't live in this area, you can't see the school. So it's not like St. Mary and Wappinger on 9D, or St. Columbo on 82, or any of the school, like from Fishkill Elementary, Brinkerhoff, doesn't matter. You can't see it from the street. Most people think at 8 o'clock in the morning, sure, the grandma going across the street to go to some 8 a.m. mass, there's nothing going on there, and they feel empowered to speed. Most people don't even know that there's a bridge there at a creek that has water going underneath it. It's just you don't see it, you don't think it's there. However, it's been like this for as long as my kids have been there. Most people don't let their kids walk. Part of that's the sidewalks, because if you want to actually have your kid walk on the other side of the street, you can't use the main entrance, which I guess would be the north one. You've got to come out the south one, which is the one that's closer to Route 52. There are actually two entrances. They get kind of, not dog loop, but they circles around the church, and the church is on one side, school's in the back. I know bus drivers who don't like coming out of there. And they're in a big yellow bus that we all know that, we all should know, to stop when the red lights are on. It's a lot of it's just that people don't understand that there is a school there, and there is no enforcement. So while I'll be the first to admit I don't think the signs are going to prevent an accident, they will create awareness for people who otherwise wouldn't know that there's a school there, and potentially should slow down. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Kenya Gadsden. Good evening, board members, Madam Clerk Cooper, how are you? So I'm here on behalf of the Southern Dutchess Coalition. The Southern Dutchess Coalition for 2025 marks the 47th year that they have given tribute to the legacy of the Honorable Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Due to the weather, our annual event did not happen. I am proud to say that I'm a member of the committee that ensures that this event occurs annually. We have it scheduled for February 17th, 2025. The reason why I'm bringing it here to Fishkill is that Fishkill leadership and Beacon leadership are shared through our legislature, and so it's important that we unite on the small things so that we can journey the troubling things together. And so it's going to be at Springfield Baptist Church at 80 Maddie Cooper Square in Beacon, where the Reverend Dr. Ronald O. Perry is the senior pastor. They will be serving breakfast at 8:30, and then we have the 11th annual Martin Luther King Jr.'s Parade, which is founded by Pete Seeger and the Southern Dutchess Coalition, and that starts promptly at 9:30. So the goal really is to ensure that we grow the parade. And we walked, I think 3 years ago, while we were walking. It's not a very long walk, but it definitely showed unity in the community. 3 bald eagles started to hover over the march as we made the curve. And so we all stopped to see how surreal that was. And so we said, could that be Pete, Toshi, and Martin Luther King, like looking down and guiding us? And so then we thought things were tough, And it seems just from the climate in this room that things aren't getting any better. So I invite all of the Fishkill residents and the leadership of this town to come and join us in a march. What you will find is unity, togetherness, and hopefully resolution to many of the problems in which we have commonalities. And so in our commonalities, sometimes we will find differences, but I believe together we could do things better. Thank you and have a great night.
Kenya, is there a flyer for this event, or?
I'll send it to your phone. Okay,
Can you send it so that the town could include it in our next eGov?
I'll do that. All right.
Teresa Kraft, Beacon. Regarding your upcoming discussion tonight to consider the creation of wards, as a resident of Beacon for decades living with a ward system that was instituted in 2017, it's been an ongoing juggling act with continuous changes and nuances. I urge Fishkill not to follow their lead in considering a ward system model. In an open race, people can distribute their endorsements if they don't support a committee's nominee if each ward has individual representation. All neighborhoods should be represented by one board and not ward representatives. The goal should continue to promote fair and equal representation. A ward system can often lead to a fragmented approach to governance, where individual ward representatives prioritize their constituents' needs over the municipality as a whole. We see it all the time. With a municipal-wide representation system, elected officials are more directly accountable to the entire population. In the ward system, it could be easier for representatives to deflect blame or responsibility onto other wards or officials. All residents would be able to vote for any board candidate on the ballot. All board positions can be filled with residents who live anywhere in the town. All residents should feel empowered to reach out to any available board member for assistance. You don't have to follow them. It doesn't really work there.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay. Next up on the agenda, let me see my pen. Liaison member reports. Jackie, you got anything?
Went to a meeting with community over in 9D regarding the Ford Trail. And it was a really, really good discussion. Sorry. I said that I had attended a meeting regarding the Ford Trail in the 9D corridor. And there was, a lot of talk about safety, traffic and speeding on 9D like we're talking about here, trespassing, and possibly moving the trail further back from some of the residences so there would be less of that, and how we could, talk with the developers about that. So there's a lot of people really have concerns about it that I think we as a board need to really be on top of, because it's coming. And if it's coming, we should be able to express our opinions sooner than later and persuade the people who are doing this to do things that are have more favorable outcomes for the people who live in the town, and not disregard our concerns. So that was one thing that I did.
So, Mr. Gabba, when is the date for the last letter to go to the?
It's the first week in March. I don't remember if it's the 5th or the 7th or what, but it's first week in March.
So what came up in that meeting was they have two proposed trails, one right on the Hudson River and one higher up on the ridge. They were concerned about people going in their backyards. So they prefer number one, which is closer to the Hudson River. What do you guys think about that? Can we get Mr. Gabba to write a letter saying that the town board would prefer Route 1, Trail 1 instead of 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the residents that live there, so you guys okay with me signing a letter about this?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this with other residents too, that, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the trail itself, but just too many people walking on them and being able to look at people's backyards and what they have, and some, have experienced people entering, taking things and taking, so there's whatever can be done to promote safety and privacy,
Okay. That was basically, there's two things that we can do. If we get them close to the Hudson, they're not gonna go in these residents' backyards, and like what Brian just said. And the other one is they're making U-turns on people's properties, which we'll deal with the highway superintendent on that one. Maybe we can get some special signs built on there and some police coverage down there too. But, so there's 2 trails, 1 on the Hudson and 2 higher on the ridge. We're all okay with me signing something for Ridge 1? I'm sorry, Trail 1. Trail 1.
Yeah.
Okay with that?
I'd like to see a draft before it gets sent, but yes.
Okay.
There should be a draft letter, and there should be a resolution approving, submitting it to I think it's Parks and Historic
It is.
Preservation is the agency heading it
Yeah.
up. So I'll prepare that for the next meeting, and the board can adopt a resolution. We can make whatever changes you like, of course.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
I just, I wanted to say one other thing. When I was last on the board, we did, I don't know if you remember, and we put some of those blinking light signs on Merritt Avenue, and
Yes.
that's owned by the county.
No, that's owned by the town.
Isn't that?
Merritt Boulevard's a town road.
Okay.
But we
All
did
right.
order, I think, 12 speed signs with solar.
Right.
So me and Carmine are gonna look to where we put them out.
Well, can we, put some of those near St. Mary's and?
Yeah, we could consider that.
I
Yep.
think that should be
We
a
bought 12 of
priority.
them. Yep. We could do that. Greg, you got anything?
I'm currently working with the supervisor and the attorney to help a resident who's had some building issues with Central Hudson. We know that this isn't a new thing. I do just want to flag for everyone that not only is the town board always happy to assist with this, but our Assemblyman A.J. Bupan is also very willing to lend a hand. I know he facilitates at least once or twice a year a sort of open house session where people can meet one-on-one with Central Hudson representatives instead of navigating their customer support system over the phone, which can be infuriating. And whenever we have more information about when his next sessions will be, we'll be happy to let everyone know about that. So that if you do have issues like the resident I'm currently working with is experiencing, we can try and get those resolved as quickly as possible. I did also just want to let everyone know, I appreciate the board naming me as our delegate to the AOT convention this month. Unfortunately, due to some work scheduling conflicts, I'm not going to be able to attend. So I would request that our alternate delegate cast the vote on behalf of the town in my stead.
Who's that?
I believe it's Brian.
No.
It's Jackie.
Jackie.
It
Can you
was
do it?
not.
Tag, you're it.
Aye.
Yeah. You're it.
What day is that, Wednesday?
I believe the vote is Wednesday morning.
Wednesday
but
morning.
The conference, of course, is from Sunday night to Wednesday.
Let me know if you can do it.
No, I could do it.
You can do it? Okay.
Good.
John?
Okay, just a couple things. One, couple weeks ago, I was at a poker game in Fishkill. One of our players wasn't feeling well and passed out. I called 911. The person ultimately woke up while I was still on the phone with 911. Half hour later, we got a knock on the door, and it was 2 Town of Fishkill police officers doing a wellness check. I know it might be their job, but it was brutally cold out that night, and they were friendly and professional, and I wanted to publicly say thank you for being there.
Good.
Saturday night, February 1st, I attended the annual dinner at the Beacon Elks Club honoring our first responders in Beacon and Fishkill. That's it.
Thank you, John.
Great.
Brian?
I'm not prepared to report now, but I'm working on a couple of items I hope that will be of benefit to the town, and I'll report on them next meeting.
Thank you, Brian.
Great.
All right. I have nothing. No presentations. Going to discussion. The first one we just discussed. I apologize. Go on.
Can we take 2-minute break?
I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute break. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5 minutes.
There you go.
Brief recess. It's a lot easier. I try, Marie.
Where's Brian? I thought he was just here. Oh, there he is.
He's here.
slow down. We don't have to call you a mess here. Come on.
I just thought I'd make a big entrance. Thank you.
All right, welcome
John,
back, everyone. John's got something?
No, I was just going to ask if his friend from the game is all right now.
Oh, your friend okay? The game?
John?
Who?
Your friend from the game, he's all right?
Yes.
All right.
Good, good.
All right, now we're up to discussion items. The first one, the school zone signs on Jackson. We already talked about that. We're good moving on that?
Oh, I
Yes.
think so.
Town board to discuss creation of award system. Mr. Gav, I want to be right to the point. There's a primary in June. If we decided to move in this direction, I would like to have the election in June and then backtrack what we need to do to get there. Can we have like some type of formulation on that?
Actually, it's...
Can we have a discussion
No,
about
no,
this
no,
first?
I'm going to ask him what to do and then we can talk about it.
Actually, it's simpler than you'd think. In order to get the proposition for changing over from at-large elections to the ward system, all town has to do, if it's down to first class, is adopt a resolution stating that it wishes to go to the ward system and that it wishes to have the proposition put on the ballot for referendum and you could choose whether it's a special election or the next biennial election as far as that goes. The time frame for doing that, I can't tell you because I haven't had a special election in Dutchess County before. I can tell you that in terms of the biennial election, they wanted it at least 2 months before it would be on the agenda. So if the board were to act in February or March to adopt the resolution and put it on the agenda and get the proposition to the Board of Elections April, May, I think it's awful tight for June. I mean, could it be done? It could be. You know, if you get it there quickly enough.
It shouldn't be done.
March.
All right, I'm sorry. John, I'm Brian?
It shouldn't be done. We're discussing this, and I've heard comments from the audience tonight against the ward system, and I couldn't agree more. There's no groundswell in the town of Fishkill. Oh, God, can we please go to the ward system? I have not heard anybody in this town say, can we do that so I can go to the polls every 2 years now and only vote for a small segment and not be townwide. We've had a form of government that's been working very well for a long time. Townwide, yeah, you got to work for it. You got to get out there and knock on a lot of doors and visit all sections of town. But to go to the ward system, everywhere I hear that it is, and everyone that I've talked to that is elected within that or lives in that community, it is divisive. And now you want to expand this to have 2 more board members. And I've heard everything about, oh my gosh, it's going to be better for everyone because we're going to have more representation. We are town-wide. Anybody can run now from any part of this town. So to go to a special election is going to cost. To change us and add 2 more people is going to cost. To have people come out every 2 years, it's every 2 years, right, Mr. Gavin?
Every 2 years. You can adopt, after you go to the ward system, a local law to extend the terms or even to stagger them, but initially at least, it's going to be 2 years.
2 years.
So once it's established,
it doesn't
automatically starts at 2 years.
Well, let me finish, please, because you're saying once it's established because you have the votes and it's what you want, and so I guess you have got people lined up down there that are like, yay, ward system. It is a mistake, and it's so unnecessary on so many different levels. It is not a positive for the town. It is absolutely a negative. It is absolutely divisive. And you get into all kinds of issues. You know, one of the terms that I've heard from somebody down at that end of the table is unintended consequences. Well, I think you might have a couple here you haven't even decided on. One of which is it is a big mistake because no one's screaming for it except you. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
So there are about 932 towns in New York State. All but about 12 to 15 are townwide. There's 12 towns that have a ward system. So it's really I don't see the need for it. There are, you know, we went. Ozzy's talking about going to 6 board members. We went a whole year to have 4. We didn't even vote on going to a 5th board member. So I don't think there's a crying need to increase, which of course costs more money. I just don't like it, and to be honest with you, we talked about June. If you're gonna do this, if you're gonna push it because you have 3 votes, it really should be in November when we have a larger turnout with the electorate.
Thank you. Greg?
I respect my colleagues' comments, and your perspectives are very useful. I only just want to sort of reply to a couple of the points that were made respectfully. Councilman Foreman is right. The award system is not a particularly common thing across New York, but because something is not common does not mean that it is not a worthwhile enterprise. There are fewer than a dozen other towns in the state of New York that have term limits for their elected officials either. We're one of those towns that do. The fact that it is not a common practice does not mean that it is a bad practice. It means that there is an opportunity potentially for growth and innovation. And regarding Councilman Rye's comments, I think you've made some very interesting points, particularly the fact that there has not been a great public clamor for award system. And if it is your position, as you've expressed, that the need does not exist, I'm sure that you should very much lobby people in the community to vote against it. But I have never personally been against giving the people the choice. So whether or not you wish to advocate for award system, certainly within your purview, and you're very entitled to your opinion. I think you stated it very respectfully. I remember last time we kind of went back and forth a little, and it's not like that now, but
it could be.
It's simply putting something on the ballot and letting the people decide. If the supervisor suggests that award system has merit, and other people agree, we can't impose it ourselves. It's something that we then put to the public and let the residents of the town of Fishkill decide, because it's the power of the people to determine how their government shall be constructed. So a vote to say that we are interested in adopting a award system doesn't create it. It simply gives the residents an opportunity to consider a possibility that they may not have considered previously, because, as Councilman Foreman pointed out, it is not a particularly common practice. And perhaps if they learn about what the potential benefits are, or the possible unintended consequences that you mentioned, Brian, could be, I have confidence that the residents will make the correct decision at the ballot box whenever it is that election is held.
Greg, do you think it should be in November or in June?
I'm not of any particular opinion one way or the other. I'm going to refer to, or defer, I should say, to the town attorney. If he thinks that we can get it done for June, I think that is an opportunity to engage in a public information campaign about the potential consequences, be they good or bad, in an objective way, so that residents can be informed. If it's not possible to do in June, I certainly understand that, but if we can do it at a time where people will be going to the ballot box at that specifically to vote on this one issue, I think there is a benefit to that.
I think that it's got to be in November if it's going to happen, which I pray it doesn't. I'm not going to restate myself, but if this is really going to be a democratic process, you've got to have the broadest possible audience coming out to participate in it, and that's going to be a November election.
I completely understand and respect what you're saying, but
it's just
particular
not necessary, this whole thing.
I hear you, and I respect that. My flip side of that coin is that to give the matter the attention that it deserves, it shouldn't be a ballot proposition on the flip side of the ballot from what people are already there to do. It should be the reason why they're turning out, so that it's their entire focus, and they aren't potentially distracted by other issues that would affect potentially how an election, a larger election that takes place in November, goes. If we're going to give the people a significant choice to make, it should be the only choice that we're asking them to make, and not be like, well, here's your county government and your town government and all of these other races, and by the way, what do you think of this? I think it deserves better consideration and a more prominent placement than that, if possible.
That sounds good, and God knows you're artful, but I'm going to say that the issue here is the broadest turnout, number one. Number two, I think we've got a pretty intelligent group of people living in Fishkill that, if they're turning over the ballot, they certainly know what they're voting for, and especially when it concerns the construction of the government in their town. I think that you discount the possibility, you know, or the capacity of their acumen, shall we say. But no, first and foremost, I'm against it. It's not necessary. But absolutely, it's got to be in November if you guys are going to make it happen.
Yeah, I do, I'm sorry, Councilwoman. Go.
Thank you. So I think the arguments that no one does it, so it's not good. But when we talked about the hotel tax, we were talking about everyone's doing it, so why not we? I don't think those are good measures of whether we should or should not do something. I think we need to put it out to the people. There was somebody mentioned that it could fragment the town. I think we're smart enough that we can talk to each other. And if you have a ward that needs something, and I have a ward that needs something, that we will discuss these things, that we will continue to represent the people of the town. I just don't think it will fragment us. But, you know, we're a democracy and we need to put it out to the residents. My experience is that people in Fishkill are pretty savvy and are pretty smart, and most people know what's going on politically, and if we put it out there, hey, look, we're thinking about a ward system, what do you think? The argument Ozzy made at one meeting about, you know, preventing I don't know what we call it, but a hostile takeover is a good word, I think, to use to describe it. That has some merit, if you ask me. As far as costs are concerned, I think we need definitely to put it with an election that's already occurring. I don't have a preference if it's November. You know, like I said, I know people are going to turn over that ballot, and people in Fishkill are smart. Those are some of my thoughts about it, but, you know, let's put it out there. Let you people decide what you think of that, and we'll move forward from there.
Well said, Jackie. The reason I don't want it to be in November, because I want it to be the only thing on the ballot. I don't want to politicize it. So when you look at it, there'll be two things, whether we do the ward system and whether we go from 4 to 6 seats. Another board member mentioned earlier that he wanted full participation. Yet these same individuals that want that this November are against the even year elections that are going to line the local elections with the state races. So it's very hypocritical to say something like that.
I'd be more than happy to discuss that with you.
Sure you can.
You know? Do you mind?
Yeah.
I can wait
No,
till you finish.
Speak.
Hypocritical.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hypocritical of Albany to try to do what they're doing, because, you know, you're talking about taking away the focus on local elections and local issues by going to same year everything. You're talking about jamming up. Some of you are talking about, oh, you're jamming up the ballot. You just want it to be this special thing about the ward system. Well, I mean, that's what you're going to do when you couple the federal, statewide, county-wide, and local elections all in one ballot. You're going to have people coming there and voting on 800 things at one particular time. You got to have an opportunity for local elections in the county and in the town to be able to discuss those issues and have them be concentrated on, and you can't have it coupled with everything else, and that's designed, I think, to be a negative thing. There's no reason to do that other than you want to take the focus away from local issues, which is shameful.
We've had plenty elections where there's more than one referendum on the other side. I don't see that as a problem.
His argument is just shattered, because I've been doing this for 25 years, and I just ran for re-election. I got re-elected last year, and the national issue was Democrats defund the police. Signs all over the town of Fishkill at a local election. National issues came to the town of Fishkill. So it's nonsense. I like the theory that it should be local elections, but I've been around here a long time to realize that that's BS. There was never any defunding of the town of Fishkill Police Department, but there were signs out there saying, Ozzy says Democrats are defunding the Fishkill Police Department, because it was a national thing that was going on. So the councilman is clever, and I agree with him ultralistically. I'd like to see local issues, but quite frankly, their issues are horrible. They're pro-developer, they're pro-using the aquifer to make developers money. They're not pro-police, I can tell you that for a fact.
Who is
So,
that? Who's
you?
pro? I'm
You.
pro-developer?
Yeah, you're
The
pro-developer.
only developer I knew is Carmine Itzvon.
Who?
I've told you that 800 times. I don't know
do you
a
mean,
stupid,
Carmine?
and you're talking about, once again, about a grant, you know, which has nothing about giving away the aquifer. You're sitting here twisting crap for people, you know, for your own political benefit, and that's shameful of you. And I'm not going to sit here and take it, Ozzy. We didn't have to get really excited here, but you start throwing that out, and it's going to get very excited very quick. That's unnecessary, and that's totally incorrect.
I prefer to talk about local issues. You guys don't.
We don't?
Not
That's
your
why I
not
ran
your
for town board.
campaigns, no.
I like to sit up here and talk about national issues and nothing
No,
else. That's what I
no.
like to do. I ran for
No,
town board to
and
do that.
Even your elections
That's what
will
it is.
get the most turnout, which you guys mentioned at the last meeting, and you want most government participation, you should support even your elections. But you don't do that.
No, I don't.
No, because you want it your way.
No.
That's why you want it.
I think that we have
Come on.
good focus on
Yeah.
local issues when we stagger.
All right. Then the second part is, we got downstate going on. We have a non-for-profit that owns a big piece of, probably about $70 million worth of land down by 9D. I like to break the town up, because I don't want what's happening in Rockland County and southern Orange County to happen to the town of Fishkill. And I want to prevent that. And that's why I want to go from 4 to 6 board members. So, Mr. Gabb, I'd like to figure out what day is the primary day, and then what resolution we have to do to get this up for the ballot for those two issues.
Right, what I'll do is, if it's all right with the board, I'll get in touch with your Board of Elections, and I'll find out if June is feasible. If June is feasible, I'll let you all know, and you can have a resolution prepared, put it on the ballot.
There's
and-
definitely something on the calendar. I remember looking at it. I
Yeah,
want
we
to
got
say
plenty
it's
of time.
August is.
It's more than, so you're talking, we're in March, April, May, June, that's 4 months, there's plenty of time to get in on the, we don't have to do a town,
We'll
we
look
don't
forward
have
to
to
your
do
memo.
we don't have to do a
Yeah,
public hearing,
depends
right?
what you like.
No.
Just a regular
Resolution.
we can do that quick.
We'll look forward to your memo in council. We can
All right,
move
and then you
forward from
pick a
there.
date that you want. I could either fill out 3 different resolutions, or I could leave a blank, and you can fill in the date for the,
You know, I was gonna do it on a separate day, Councilman Foreman said, why don't you do it on primary day? And that's why I said, let's do it on primary day.
And now I have a better idea. Do it in November.
Yeah.
That's a better idea.
No, your idea was better on June.
Don't you want a lot of people to vote in this?
The only thing I'd say, and it's not really a legal opinion, so take it with a grain of salt as far as that goes, is it's a pretty substantial change to go from at-large elections to a ward system. And June may seem far away sitting here tonight, but it really isn't very long time-wise.
Understood.
You might want to think about either a special election standalone in August.
Maybe I'll
or
do that.
even moving it to the November date.
Maybe we could do that. Would you, board members like to do a resolution to say what the pros and cons are that we can share with the residents? Are you interested in that?
I think the most sensible thing might be for us to ask someone who is not sitting on the town board to prepare something, perhaps someone with a legal opinion who can speak to the procedure and potential pros and cons.
They basically had their arguments right there. Mariam is gonna be.
Right, but we're talking about making this a non-political
Yeah.
issue, so from a public
it is political,
information
Greg.
standpoint, the pros and cons, I think, should be
Town
prepared by
board
people
should
who
not-
do not sit on the board.
Right, but the town board should not be issuing a statement one way or the other to labor for it.
Right.
To lobby for it, I should say.
Right.
That's a matter for individuals and political
Well,
parties.
we can't do a resolution saying these are the pros and cons for the ward system? We
You
have
can
to, we
adopt
have
a
to.
resolution doing whatever you want as far
But
as that
that's what
goes,
I'm
but,
asking.
I mean, not everybody's going to agree on it, and,
Who's
you know.
drafting it?
Well, we'd have Mr. Gaba draft it.
Why don't we have a public hearing? I know we're not required to have one, but let's have one.
You know, there's got to be time. This is a major thing. Why does it have to be, you know, shoved through?
There's nothing shoved through.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
Absolutely
not.
it is. It's, you know, I think this is something that just takes time for people to digest. No one's going to really digest this in a couple of months and go, oh, yippee, you know?
But do you
Ward
think
system.
Maybe
Where have you
could
been all
have-
my life?
Brian, you think maybe we could have a working group on something like this?
Well, first and foremost,
You
if
know,
that's
people
supposed
from
to
the
happen-
town could come in and talk about it. It's almost like a public hearing, but
I don't know if you want to craft something to give to the board along those lines so we can comment. We're not even, you know, The whole thing frustrates me because it's just so unnecessary. It's very divisive, but I think there's a lot of information that people need to have and understand what they're getting into.
Why do you say it's divisive? I don't understand that.
Because every town that has this is divisive. John, what's your experience with
Well,
towns?
those towns are divisive because they don't have term limits, and you got board members there for 20, 30 years. I get that. We have term limits. 8 years, you're done out of here. That alleviates that.
That is a very important consideration.
Yes.
A lot of that type of sectarian conflict that you can see of ward-based towns where there can be issues of individuals really only serving their local ward and not considering the greater interests of the town as a whole. I think that potential for a problem becomes much more significant over a longer period of time if a leader is in office for, say, 20 to 30 years, as can happen. But with a robust, we're pretty much bleeding edge in terms of the term limit laws that we have here. It really doesn't make it possible for someone to accumulate that longevity in office where they potentially lose sight of the bigger picture.
Well, I mean, that sounds good, but we don't know, do we? And you still have a ward system where it's divided into wards, and people are going to campaign along their ward lines, and everywhere that there is a ward, there seems to be division, so.
Yeah, and I think the best part about this, if we go to 6 wards, it allow a private citizen, Councilman Rye was correct. You have to work your tail off to get elected to be on this seat.
Mhm.
It's a big town. There's 9,500 doors that you have to knock on and meet people. And unless you have 6 months to go door to door, 6 hours a day, it's going to be very impossible. The other route,
5-figure checkbook.
yeah, the other way is if you got $100,000 to spend on mailings and things like that, you could do. When we go to the ward system, and especially if we go to 6, a private citizen will be allowed to petition, regardless of being a Republican or a Democrat. You can run as an independent and get elected on your own.
You don't have to play politics.
You don't have to play politics. You can go get your signatures.
Everything is so small and digestible. You can just be, hi, I'm your neighbor, and
Yes.
I'd like to be on the town board. And it becomes a lot more digestible than an at-large position.
That's going to be my argument to the citizens of town of Fishkill, those 3 things. More public grassroots involvement, prevent what happened in Rockland County to happen here, and that's where I want to go with this. So, Mr. Gaba, work on that. Madam Clerk, just table this to the next meeting, and we'll get an update from the town attorney at that time.
That's both resolutions, Ozzy, both the 4 to 6 members and the ward?
Yeah, I want two of them. Yep, prepare those 2, and give me a date when the Board of Elections can do this for that June primary date.
Will do.
Can we also do a resolution to have the Board of Elections do the redistricting if it happens?
The Board of Elections is automatically going to do the redistricting.
I heard the
If you
town
want-
board does it. I don't want the town board.
Not so.
That's not
In your
so?
memo, it said there's an option.
There is an option
And
if
the
you
first
adopt-
option would be the Board of Elections to do that, and it would be to everyone's advantage if it was the Board of Elections.
All right, if we went that way, Board of Elections is a good idea, Brian? If it
The whole-
happened that way.
The whole thing is a bad idea.
Okay.
But you would certainly need a Board of Elections to handle that.
Concur.
Okay, Board of Elections, Mr. Gaba. We would have them
It's
do that.
automatic, Ozzy, I'm telling you. It goes to the Board of Elections if it becomes if the ward system is adopted, the Board of Elections will have the duty to run the census numbers and come up with the lines. The extent to which they consult with the town, I do not know.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gaba. Next up is discussion of agreement to expenditure for highway monies for 2025. I'm going to have to take something out on consent when I get down to it.
Okay.
Number 4, discussion of resolution accept resignation of Police Sergeant Anthony Zambrowski. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, and congratulations. I understand he's moving south with his family.
Yes, he is.
Zabrowski, hats off to you. You were a fantastic officer, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Next up is discussion to provide the historian with a $2,500 yearly stipend. Right now, we have like $5,500 allocated for that, but not a stipend. I'd like to take this $2,500 out of that $5,500 and let him have a stipend, especially for this year and next year.
Is that what we paid Arnold?
I don't know what we paid Arnold. I think
We paid him $1,000? Okay.
And then the previous one, we had the 2,500 stipend.
Because I asked that in an email, like, what did we pay Arnold? And I was told like 2,000 or 2,500.
1,000?
I thought it was 2,000 we paid Arnold.
I don't remember. I know the budget for the historian is like 5,500.
Is this an automatic payment, or is this like, you know, he incurs some expense and he returns
Well, right
the
now,
receipts?
right
What are
now,
we
it would
doing
be
here?
like a 5,500 if he does the vouchers, et cetera, and we're gonna be very busy with the 250th. Instead of wasting time on doing vouchers, I'd like to do the 2,500 for the next 2 years, 25 and 26, and go back to 27 the old way.
I'm sure we're going to line him up to do a lot of work, so I'd go along with this.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm in line with that as well.
I know, I like his energy. I like how he wants to be involved. I'm sure he's going to have some expenses, so,
Mhm.
you know.
Next one's routine, amend the rec schedule. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
Next up, number 7, discussion of, to appoint Council, Louise Daniele, Police Commissioner. Go.
Before I ask Louise to step up to the podium, I want to let everybody know that I am philosophically against the creation of the position of police commissioner, and we certainly do not need to spend $35,000 to fund this position.
Yes, I have to say that there's just a number of things that I feel are wrong about this whole thing. I'm not going to get into personalities, but I'm just wondering, here's the thing, Ozzy, you and I talked about this, and I'm repeating myself because I said this the last time when we hired our present police chief, Joe Clark, that you chose within the force, and you got him to be chief. And you and I had a lot of discussions because you and Dworkin, Chief Dworkin, went round and round and round and round. And I'm not going to get bogged down in that. We're not going to have an argument about that. But how many times did I say, take him to the side, you're the executive of the town, just make this work, you can do it. Anyway, so we decided, you and I, that the best thing to do was to make sure that we hired someone from outside our police force that was not connected to all the inner machinations and all the different sides and the different issues. Fresh, clean start, someone that would be male or female, capable, seasoned, able to do everything you're turning over to a commissioner. I'm sorry, when I came on the board, we did have a chief. You didn't like him, but everything in here that you're turning over to a commissioner, he did. And I'll tell you something else. This chief, nice guy, talked to him today about an issue. Got him on the phone. I have his cell phone number. I'm a town board member, so he's going to answer my phone call, thankfully. But, and I don't talk to him that much because I'm frustrated. And the reason why I'm frustrated is because you promised, and he promised right here that he would be turning in these reports that we see written in here that you're turning over to the commissioner. He is not communicating with us. I don't know what he's doing. Okay, he's not updating information. He's not providing us in a timely fashion. He's not doing any of this stuff. Okay, so I don't agree with creating a commissioner. I agree with potentially changing the chief to someone that's strong and capable and can handle it, and that is a good leader for our police force. I don't understand this. I mean, I really, really don't. Okay. I mean, and plus you steered it. You start right off the back. The position of police commissioner is hereby created. The police commissioner shall be a resident. Now, if we're looking for a chief, we're casting the net wide. They're coming from everywhere, counties far and wide. We hire cops from counties far and wide. Okay, we hired good employees that don't live in the town to work at town hall, that don't live in the town, that work at highway and for buildings and grounds. We do all this stuff, but this, we're turning over everything the chief does, and it's only a small pool. It's only someone here crafting it thusly, and I resent that so much. And I'll tell you, it goes on and on and on. You're turning over supervision and internal operations, and external contracts, and develop and implement and enforce policies and procedures for the administration of all police department operations. That's a chief. okay? That's a chief. And I don't want someone that is a citizen taking over the chief's duties, telling then our police department what to do, and having our chief report to that individual. Okay? It's insane. I'm sorry. There's no other way of putting this. I'm very, 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 very frustrated of it. I think it's just layers of bureaucracy. It was stated earlier by Mr. Colon, and that's exactly, he's reading my mind. Layers of bureaucracy, layers of confusion, an expense, and it's not necessary. We need a strong chief that has these capabilities. We need to start fresh in that regard. That's exactly what we need to do. Prepare and direct preparation of all federal and local reports. I don't know if this person that you have in mind has the capacity to do all these things, and I'm certain if they were talking, they would say that they would, but it goes on and on and on. I just, I just stopped writing notes because I just couldn't get over, what we're doing here. We created the police commission for us, and we had this guy right here tell us that's our job. I don't need to be told what my job is. I know what my job is. And I don't care who you hire, because I will be involved and I will be asking questions. But this is totally wrong. We have right here the police commission. What we need right here is a police chief that shows up and gives us reports. A police chief that communicates with us, which doesn't happen. A police chief. Now, I don't need someone to, we're going to, you know what? All that's going to be taken care of. We're going to get ourselves a nice police commissioner to do his job. And that's just absolute bull. I just don't appreciate this whatsoever. I think it's I think you're playing with our electorate. I think you're playing with our citizens by doing this. I think you've got a faux creation of a complication that needs to have a correction by having a brand new commissioner established that would do all the stuff that we do and are supposed to do. I don't agree with giving this person my authority. I don't agree with giving oversight. I don't agree with the police chief answering to this citizen. And I don't know how our police department is going to accept this. I don't know that our police department is going to go, oh, goody, I've got a commissioner. He's a citizen, and I'm going to answer to him. I don't get all of this, And so the reason why John and I had, and I know this blows some people's mind, but I don't care. I've had great conversation with Miss Daniele after the meeting, and I will tell you this, there's nobody more capable, and she can do it for free. And she has the capacity, okay? Everybody's seen us butt heads. There's no doubt about that. So how is it that we came together on this particular issue? Miss Daniele, myself, and John. John's got issues, but I will tell you, but you know what I'm talking about. So we have overcome those because we agree that the best candidate for this position is sitting right here in a bright yellow pro-woman strong, I heard her say that, yellow jacket. And what would make me happy is if you guys are going to do this, is that I would feel confident with this individual right here coming in and being the next commissioner if we're going to do that. I would have full faith and confidence in the capabilities to handle all this. I believe there would be impartiality. I believe that there would be, understanding her background, great managerial capabilities in handling police officers. I think that she would have a lot of great respect, and I believe there's a lot of people in this town that voted for her before that like her and would appreciate her, if we're going to do this, having her in this position. That's all I got.
Mayor?
Come on. Miss Danielle, I'd love to see you educate everybody on your extensive background, if you
I
don't
most
mind.
certainly can do that for you, Councilmember. I would like to start off by thanking Councilmember Rye for listening to me when I spoke at the January 2nd meeting and hearing my qualifications when I asked the board that I wanted to apply for police commissioner. He talked to me after the meeting, came to the back of the room, and told me that he agreed with everything that I said. He also said that he agreed that we don't need a police commissioner. That's right, I said it. We don't need a police commissioner. But if the majority of the board that we have no control over is going to create one, then it would be me. That's what he said. He would like it to be me, and I agreed with him. So the lack of process for creating this position is concerning for me. Lack of process and procedures in the town of Fishkill have always been concerning for me. I would not even have been put on the agenda if Councilmember Rye didn't request to add me as a discussion and resolution, and Councilmember Foreman then seconded it. That's novel, right? But what's right is right. If I wasn't added, there would have only been one choice from the supervisor. No resumes received by him were forwarded to the board. No interviews were set up. No duties were attached to the eGov. No process was followed at all. So when I decided to apply, I sent my resume to the supervisor as directed in his eGov, and because I wanted to make sure all of the board members received it, I CC'd them and the clerk. In case any board member did not have a chance to read my cover letter or resume, I will read my cover letter and highlight my resume now, because I have a feeling some of you didn't even look at it. Dear Fishkill Town Board, I am writing to express my strong interest in the position of Police Commissioner for the town of Fishkill. With a quarter-century of distinguished service in law enforcement and local government, I have dedicated my career to fostering community trust, promoting accountability, and ensuring the safety and well-being of both residents and officers. During my tenure as a member of the Town of Fishkill Police Commission in 2022-23, I worked with the police department to review weekly activity reports, investigate personnel complaints, and address disciplinary matters with fairness and integrity. My experience as an elected council member further honed my ability to develop and implement policies that reflect the needs and values of our community. From spearheading initiatives like the Hometown Hero banner and Fishkill Sensory Park to advocating for women's rights and equality, I have consistently demonstrated a commitment to meaningful public service. Prior to my roles in local government, I served with the New York State Police for 20 years, culminating in my position as station commander of the Wappinger Station. In this capacity, I led 30 troopers, 2 sergeants, and managed station operations, and responded to critical incidents, including coordinating efforts during the 9/11 emergency response. These experiences provided me with a deep understanding of crisis management, interagency collaboration, and the importance of maintaining public confidence in law enforcement. My mission as a police commissioner would be to strengthen the relationship between the police department and the community through transparency, accountability, and strategic partnerships. I am passionate about supporting officer well-being and professional development, while fostering collaboration with local, state, and federal agencies to address complex safety concerns. I am eager to bring my leadership experience and dedication to the role of police commissioner. I would undertake this endeavor without seeking monetary compensation, as my sole motivation is to serve the community and ensure that its safety and well-being. I would welcome the opportunity to discuss my background and how it aligns with the goals and vision of the town of Fishkill. Thank you for considering my application. I look forward to the possibility of contributing to the team. My resume that was attached, I'll just give you some highlights. You already know my name. You already know I'm a legal resident of over 30 years, retired station commander with the state police. My professional experience, I've already stated. I was on the town of Fishkill town board. I was a council member from 20 to 23. Some of the highlights of what I did: I developed and implemented town policies and new laws, participated in and approved town budgets, reviewed and town fiscal reports monthly, participated in hiring town employees. I was a liaison to the senior center, town water issues, planning department, and employee resident issues. As a member of the town of Fishkill Police Commission from January 22 to 23, I reviewed weekly reports from the chief of police, investigated personnel complaints brought before the police commission, determined informal disciplinary matters, and conferred with the town labor attorney for serious ones. When I get to my education, I'm on the wrong page. For my work experience before that, I worked for the New York State Police from 1992 to 2012. I retired as a station commander out of the Wappinger Station. I supervised 30 troopers, 2 sergeants, and a civilian employee, conducted performance evaluations for troopers and sergeants, managed daily operations, ensuring proper maintenance of vehicles and station facilities, reviewed and corrected reports, including accident reports, arrest reports, and domestic incidents. I oversaw station warrants, evidence locker, and the gun locker. I investigated investigated and documented personnel complaints. As a sergeant from 2001 to 2009, a few of my duties included supervising 30 troopers and a civilian, both in the Somers Station and the Wappinger Station. I managed patrols across multiple towns and counties, including Fishkill. I reviewed and corrected troopers' reports and schedules. I also organized special assignments and emergency responses. As a trooper, when I started in 1992 to 2001, I worked out of SP Peekskill, SP Wappinger, and SP Cold Spring stations. I patrolled the communities of the town of Cortland, town of Phillipstown, town of Wappinger, town of Fishkill, and the village of Cold Spring. I investigated civil and criminal complaints, including domestic incidents. I processed arrests and conducted vehicle and traffic enforcement. I was assigned to special details and rotated desk duties, including radio communication. I also documented reports of criminal investigations and managed crime scenes. As far as my education, I graduated from Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts. I earned a Bachelor of Science from Criminal Justice, where I not only attended classes, but I had my co-ops and internships with the DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Administration, in Boston and New York City, as well as working for the MBTA police in Boston. I was also a member of the Northeastern Women's Track Team. As a walk-on Division I person, ending my career as the record holder in the pentathlon. I later went on to Adelphi University in Garden City and earned a paralegal graduate level certificate. I attended and graduated from the New York State Police Academy in 1992. Some of my community involvement includes being a member of the Verplank Garden Club, volunteering for senior citizens and town community events. I was a member of the Brinkerhoff Elementary School, the elementary PTA for 7 years, a member of the Southern Duchess Patriots Football Club for 5 years, a member of St. Mary's Church for over 2 decades, and a member of the State Police PBA, active and retired. I also wanted to add a few things that weren't on my resume because I thought it would have been too long, but now I have time to talk. I would like to say now that as a trooper, with a few years on in the mid-90s, I was asked by the state trooper, the Troop K PBA delegate, Don Postles, to be an alternate PBA delegate. He was having health issues, and he chose me because he knew that I would do the right thing. I was happy to have the opportunity to represent my fellow troopers with various PBA issues, including representing troopers at hearings for administrative charges. I am not only familiar with the PBA process as an alternate state police PBA delegate, but I was involved in the town of Fishkill PBA contract negotiations the first year on the Fishkill Town Board as a council member. I was also a field training officer as a trooper before being promoted to the sergeant in 2001. I trained three probationary troopers on the road with all aspects of the duties of the road trooper, including documenting their progress before they were able to ride alone on patrol. In the New York State Police, there are only 2 promotions, sergeant and lieutenant. All of the other ranks are appointed. To be promoted to sergeant in the state police, I took a written exam and participated in an oral board process. It is highly competitive. In contrast with our part-time police department, where the ranks of sergeant, detective sergeant, lieutenant, and the previous position of captain are all appointed positions, appointed by those elected politicians in office at the time. No competitive process required. I received my transcript of training records from the New York State Police after I submitted my resume, so I would like to update the board with my qualifications and advise them of my 1,032 hours of training I received during the New York State Police Academy in Albany and throughout my career. The academy is 6 months long and is live-in from Sunday through Friday. I would like to, if the board allows me to come up and give you some handouts that I have. Would I like to come forward?
I would
Certainly.
enjoy seeing them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis.
Les?
By the way, you and I were both paralegals.
Okay, wait a second.
Blue sky paralegal.
There are 24 pages of training I just handed to you. I will read a few highlights and give the board members copies as well to review for themselves. If you go to the middle of the handout that I just gave you, I would like to highlight the training I received through the New York State Police Basic School Curriculum, the 170th session from March 30th, 1992 to September 11th, 1992. These are the following classes that I took and the information I learned. Rules and Regulations, Introduction to Law Enforcement and Government. Police skills, physical training courses, including physical training and defensive tactics. Swimming test and water orientation. First responder. Police orientation, orientation to police culture, academic orientation, health and fitness, stress management, FTO orientation, which stands for Field Training Officer, performance evaluations, employee assistance program, weapons security and off-duty weapons security and off-duty weapons, application of law definitions, justification and other defenses, offenses against the person, offenses involving damage, offenses involving theft, offenses involving fraud, offenses involving public administration, offenses against public health and morals, offenses against public order, laws concerning firearms. The criminal procedure law aspect, we learned the definitions, the geographical jurisdiction of offenses. And then we moved on to the emergency vehicle operations course, which was very extensive. And onto firearms, there were two parts to firearms, Firearms 1 and Firearms 2. We learned about the police science through the penal law, the field manual exercise, narcotics investigation, auto theft, fraudulent investigation, credit card frauds, arson investigation, homicide and unattended death investigations, outlaw motorcycle gangs, organized crime, scope of prosecution, rules of evidence, preliminary proceedings in local criminal court, laws of arrest, proceedings from arraignment to plea, pretrial proceedings, special proceedings, and on to criminal investigation. The courses were preliminary investigations, identification of persons and property, interview and interrogation techniques, and onto the vehicle and traffic law, numerous courses about vehicle and traffic laws, courses about domestic violence, including victimology, crime victim compensation, crisis intervention, surveillance techniques, bias-related crimes, immigration investigations, and selected laws, including alcohol beverage control law, environmental conservation law, laws concerning deadly physical force, street survival, drug interdiction, mental health issues, special services, hostage negotiation, suicide intervention, and onto the arrest courses, fingerprinting, theory and practice, report writing, constitutional law, police operations, station operations, New York State Police Information Network, NISPIN, the computer MIN terminal training, police and emergency operations, hazardous materials, peacetime radiation, critical incident management, speed enforcement through radar training, accident investigations, two parts, one was writing and the other was the second part, standardized field sobriety testing through public and human relations and public interaction. We had communicative skills, conflict resolution, and through physical evidence, collection and preservation of evidence, photography, forensic science, crime scene management, DWI enforcement, breathalyzer training, mock DWI trial, police and the media, police and minority groups, AIDS awareness, federal hazardous communication, and the New York State Right to Know Act, and through professional interaction, ethical awareness, post-incident trauma, civil liability, maternal and sexual harassment, courtroom testimony, sensitivity training, crime prevention, and police clergy relations, totaling 1,032 hours of training. You can also see through the first 6 pages, there were another 210 in-service trainings that I took throughout my career, my 20-year career on the state police, including every year of spring and fall firearms and basic leadership school when I was promoted, and every year we had continued updating training through classes that would keep us up to date with any changes in the law or procedures. I would like to point out the continued lack of process and fairness. The supervisor is the one who decided to place my resolution last after the other application's resolution. The request to move it ahead of the supervisor's choice by council members Rye and Foreman was denied at the beginning of the meeting, so that his choice could be voted on first, which means the board will potentially never have to hear my resolution. Imagine that. That doesn't sound like good or a fair process. I could have I could have asked 103 seniors that I'm going to serve Valentine's lunch on February 13th at the rec center to write a letter for me. I could have asked the residents at Dogwood or even Ken, the owner, to write a letter. I could have asked the veterans who I helped put up their banners write a letter, or parents who now enjoy the new playground that I spearheaded. I could have asked the members of the Verplank Garden Club that I belong to write letters for me. I could have asked current and retired members of the state police that I worked with to write a letter. I could have called some of the Fishkill police officers who resigned in the last few months, who had no exit interviews, and asked them if they would want to work under my direction and write a letter for me. I could have asked employees of our town to write a letter. I could have asked business owners to write letters, diner owners, hotel owners, ShopRite employees, neighbors, friends. I could go on and on and on. All people that I would be working for as the police commissioner. I bet even the former supervisor, who I disagreed with on most things, Bob Lacola, would even have written a letter for me, and his wife too. I hope I am wrong, but sadly I don't believe any of those hundreds of letters would have mattered. So I speak for myself, and my experience speaks for itself too. I would like to end by reminding the board that you all took an oath for your elected positions of council member and supervisor. You swore to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you would faithfully discharge the duties of your elected position. Your allegiance should be to the people of the town of Fishkill, not your political parties, nor to any individual person. If the majority of this board decides to create the position tonight of police commissioner and move forward to actually pick someone, your choice should not have anything to do with righting any alleged wrongs. Alleged wrongs that are matters to be resolved in a court of law. And to remind you, a settlement is not an admission of any guilt. I hope that you vote for the person you believe will do the right thing for our town, police department, and community. The most qualified person who is not politically connected and who will not cost the taxpayers $35,000 and would do the job for no monetary compensation. That person is me. Either way, the people will remember in November on Election Day, as they should. Thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
This is rather impressive.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you shared it with us. You know, I've heard you say, and we know you want to do this for free, and I know I've got a sense you'd probably do it better than average job. But why really, in a couple of sentences, why really do you want to get involved and do this? There's got to be a little bit of passion involved, a little desire to help the community. What are your core reasons do you feel you would be great as a commissioner, other than these skills, which are
basically, I love our town. I love our town, and I want what's best for the town, what's best for the police department, and what's best for the residents who travel through our town besides the ones that live here. The way that this has all transpired, I know I got a little shout out at the beginning of the meeting saying you don't even want the police commission, you don't even believe we should have a police commissioner position. That's right, but if we are going to have it, I think that I'm the most qualified person for the job. I don't have any political ties. I don't really actually know all of the people in that police department, but I would be glad to get to know them and understand what their issues are and work on them and work on our community involvement so that everybody could come together instead of go apart. Because like I said, I believe that pendulum has swung the other side when the prior police chief was here, and it is now way to the other side. And I am an independent, and it needs to be in the middle, and that's where I would put it if I was in charge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just totally disagree. I believe the police chief is a member of your political party over there, so he's not a member of my political party. Just want to put that out there.
I just think, I'll clarify that statement.
You said this pendulum thing.
Okay, I'll just clarify that.
You said the pendulum thing.
I didn't know. I don't hire anybody on party.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, when the prior chief was here and the police commission became formulated, I've said it PS, I'm not going to say anything negative today, today's a good day, but you guys were very close to the chief. Prior in the past, we actually weren't sure if board members should be so close to police officers because you have to be, you know, impartial sometimes. So if you're so close, you may not be able to make an impartial decision. So that was my first one like that. So when the chief was there, I didn't really think it was good. He hired a lot of people from a police department that he liked, Newburgh, other things. In the beginning, I liked him, but when I saw that he attended Republican fundraisers, I just feel like it was to the right, and it shouldn't be. Now, I hear, I see, it is to the left. 1, 2, 3. And it's a shame if that's what happens tonight. And you can shake your head as much as you want, Supervisor. I'm not done talking, almost done talking, and you can talk when I'm done. But you're all Democrats. It doesn't have to do with the Democrats, so please don't make it about the Democrats. Don't make it about the Republicans. Make it about what's right for the town of Fishkill. And I'm sorry if somebody is in a bad position that they may feel pressured to vote for someone else. Do the right thing and vote for the right person. Thank you.
This is amazing. We're going to move on that. The person that I'm going to ask to be appointed would be Mr. Bierce. We'll take that when we get to the resolution. Next up, Mr. Gaba, you gave me a little discussion on the property maintenance law regarding Van Wyck Lake Road and intersection Route 5282. Can you give us an update where we're at with that?
The building inspector has prepared the notice of violations and violations. He sent them to our office to go out for service because the property owners reside out of state. One is in Pennsylvania, the other is in Florida. My office has provided those to process servers, and they will be served shortly on the property owners, the record property owners. We've set the hearing, the public hearing on the property maintenance proceedings for March 5th, the first meeting.
I apologize, I wasn't.
The first meeting of the town board in March 5th.
What is that day going to entail?
Public well, it's a hearing. The people.
That's when the public hearing happens.
Come in and, yes, and say that, well, they are going to clean it up, or no, we're wrong, that there is no violation, or whatever it is they may want to say. And then after you close the public hearing, the board will be in a position to adopt a resolution directing that you put out for bid remediation of the sites, removal of the cars, destruction, or filling in of the slab and the foundation.
So the next step is you got letters going out.
That's notice of violations for service and process, yes.
And when do we schedule the public hearing?
March 5th. But it's not really a public, I call it a public hearing because.
So we schedule the public hearing on March 5th, not have the public hearing on March 5th?
No, it'll be on March 5th.
So then when do we schedule it? Because we're already in February 5th, and we need that notice, so we can't do it at the next meeting. It would have to be the second meeting of March.
No, the first meeting in March will be fine. It only has to be 5 days before the hearing.
For this type of law?
Right, because it's not a law where we're adopting a law where we need a longer period of public notification.
That's all I wanted to make sure.
This is, it's, I don't want to say a disciplinary hearing, but it
It's
is more to that.
It's an opportunity for the property owner to come in and make their case to the town. It's not an opportunity for the public to comment on it. It's an opportunity for the property owner to come in and say whatever it is. It's an opportunity to be heard for them. So you don't need to publish a notice. There doesn't need to be anything else done. The board's already adopted a resolution directing that these proceedings be commenced. On March 5th, we'll schedule, I'll talk with Becky, a hearing for these two properties, and the property owners will hopefully come in and make their case. If they don't, you close the hearing anyway and move on.
Okay, so Becky, move this to March 5th? March 5th? Thank you, sir. Next one up is to accept the resignation of Police Assistant William Guler. Everybody okay with that? Next up, discussion of resolution to authorize Vanderwater and Vanderwater to enter in tax cert proceedings for Wilmington Trust Co., CO Walmart. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Next up is public comment only what's on the agenda. So you want to speak about something on the agenda, you can speak about anything on the agenda. Mr. Cologne?
It's my third time coming up here again, Eddie Cologne. I got a quick thing here, going back to this ward business. First of all, you got to educate the citizens of Fishkill. What is the ward? What is the ward? Okay? It's bad enough that we have 4 here, and we want to rip each other's neck off. What's next? When we have 6, we have to bring a boxing ring in here?
That's amazing.
Okay? It's not funny. It's serious. The disrespect that you give to each other, and then you say, no, well, this is the way we talk. Listen, hundreds of people are watching this on TV. They don't tell you in your face, oh, this is disgusting. How could I do that? I thought they were professionals. Now, oh, this is the way we talk. So imagine 6 plus a supervisor. Well, how do you think that's going to go? Huh? Oh, no, you don't have to be a Democrat or Republican or independent. You could be on yourself. Yeah, then you start stabbing at the other guy. Okay? I think it's a bad idea, and if you're going to do it, before you even think about it, why don't you just get someone, like, come up with an idea, get a committee, educate the citizens of Fishkill, of the town of Fishkill, to know what is the ward about. The only thing the ward that they probably know is the mental hospital ward. Okay? And I'm serious. You know, we stand here, talk all this political business, but a lot of these people out here, they don't understand what the heck you're talking about. Vote for Ward 15, vote for Ward 20. They don't even know what is that. They just go out there and put a check mark, but they don't realize what is the ward. They don't know what is explanation. You don't give no explanation what is the ward. I know it's just a great idea that you have in your head, Mr. Supervisor.
This is just starting.
Yeah, but just, okay, it's a starting point, okay? You want to start it, then do the correct thing. Educate them.
That's the next phase.
The same way you educate a child not to touch the stove, but the child touches the stove, he gets burned, what are you going to do? You going to slap him? No. You re-educate him again. But here, we don't think about that. We don't think about out of the box. We think inside the box.
This is an outside the box thought.
Like I said, it is your thought, sir. It is your thought.
Eddie, I passed term limits for a reason. I don't want to be here forever. But I'm a relatively young guy. I hope my health ain't that great, but
it looks like you're going to be here forever.
No, I passed term limits. I'm not going to be here forever. 10 years from now, when I'm a citizen, and I see something happen in the town of Fishkill, and I had the opportunity to make the change that I thought would be good, and I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So if I have the opportunity to put it for a vote, and the citizens vote it down, then so be it. That's all we're asking for is a vote.
Yeah, but
and if a non-for-profit that comes in from Rockland County comes there and takes over this town out, the whole town will go crazy. I don't want to take that chance while I have the opportunity sitting here. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but you're not going to solve that problem in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 4 hours in here. You need to educate the citizens.
Mr. Colon, we are in complete agreement about that. One of the things that all of us said during our discussion was that before moving to the point where anyone's going to vote on anything, the town board will proactively engage in a public education campaign. There will be no vote without public information and public education campaign taking place in a non-political fashion from a legal standpoint only, so that people have facts and figures and not rhetoric and rhyme, so that when a time comes for a vote, if the board decides to move forward, to let the people make that choice, that we can all hold our heads up and say that regardless of how the people choose, they were properly educated and able to make that right choice.
Mr. Councilman, when I see that, I believe it.
Okay.
And if it's done, I'll take you to dinner.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
Because you might say something today, and tomorrow goes out the window. Okay? That's one thing. Second of this, going back to this police commissioner stuff. Okay? The best candidate here that I see, again, this is my choice. The best candidate here that I see is her. Okay? I don't need, to put it this way, we do not need a police commissioner. I'll give you, again, like I said before, 3 messages to the chief of police in here, in the town of Fishkill. The actually just walked up here. Mass chances of meeting the chief, I have a better chance to meet with the supervisor. And maybe he could take my hand into the chief office and says, hey chief, Mr. Colon here is concerned about the community. He called you 3 times and you haven't had the professionalism to call him back. What kind of chief we have? What kind of chief we have in this town? Why isn't the chief? Because if I was a chief, I'd be sitting in the audience here in every freaking town meeting, because there is the question about the police department, then the chief will answer. Now you guys are the commission, supposedly. Okay? Now, What that says to me about this commissioners? If a commissioner gets elected, the chances of this commissioner working with the community, if I see right now that the chief don't want to work, none. None. I learned one thing when I was in Blue. The community is the police, and the police is the community. We got to work with each other.
There's no separation on that, sir.
Okay? But if you don't want to work with the community, let me tell you something. We're going backwards.
No,
we
we're
will
going.
not. If the police department does not want to work with the community, and I see, Mr. Supervisor, you've been there. You know how it is. Okay? If the police department does not want to work with the community, then we all are lost.
Eddie Cologne, well said. I thank Councilwoman Daniele for having the New York State Police do the first Hometown Hero banners, because the town of Fishkill Police Department didn't have the time to do it. The town board, after that, had to pass a resolution ordering the police chief to do that.
Overstrong objections, may I add?
Overstrong objections, exactly, that it wasn't necessary. The direction of the police department has moved forward in a better way right now. We have to make some corrections. I agree with Councilman Rye. We gotta get those reports more active, but the police department is better today than it was before.
How could it be better if you got police officers resigning? Because they're thinking a new commission is going in there.
The retention of police officers, if you go back several years in the town, can be very difficult because of the nature of a part-time police department. In any given year, we have several appointments and resignations for any number of reasons. I don't think it's appropriate to speculate as to the reasons of...
We're not going to go anywhere. You say something, he disagree, okay? The decision of tonight, is already done. It's written on concrete, okay? It's written on concrete. It's a shame.
It's not
It's a shame
Not a
that this
shame.
thing happens.
The police department is better than it was 6 months ago, period. That's a fact. Anybody else like to speak?
Or you kicking me out? Is that?
Oh, I thought you were done.
No, I'm not done.
Continue.
Okay, but since you're kicking me out, I take the exit, okay?
No.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Supervisor. Thanks for disrespecting me again.
Anybody else like to speak?
Thank you for disrespecting me again.
Nobody's disrespecting you. You spoke
Yes, you did.
for like 20 minutes today.
No, I didn't finish speaking, but you just cut me off. Okay? Because
I thought you were done.
To Council Greg over there.
You can speak as much as you want.
Forget it, sir. Forget it.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
You and I, our loyalty is out. Okay?
I'm sorry to hear that.
No.
You want to speak?
Yeah, you sorry, yes, yes.
Would you like to speak?
It's like grooming a new supervisor here.
Mhm.
So, privilege of the floor for agenda items.
Anything on the agenda, ma'am.
Okay, so I want to talk about some of the liaison reports. Teresa Kraft, I'd advise you to slow down and get up to speed on the Fjords Trail recent public hearing and publicity before you send out any letter of support to New York State DGEIS to the Fjords Trail Option 1 and get the facts. The Riverkeeper has concerns about the project's impact on the Hudson River and its wildlife, wetlands, and habitats. Many of these impacts are avoidable depending on the route alternative that is ultimately selected. This is a quote from the Riverkeeper. Protecting and preserving existing wetlands must be a priority. There are two main trail options for the Fjords Trail North. Option 1 would result in a boardwalk crossing over freshwater wetlands south of the Fishkill Creek near its confluence with the Hudson River. These are particularly important wildlife areas, especially as they provide habitat for threatened and endangered species. New fill and pilings and shading would be harmful to the Hudson River and should be avoided. There is a lot of environmental safeties, so that's the end of the quote. There is a lot of environmental safeties missing from the DGEIS that many of us are calling out, including the Riverkeeper. For example, there's no mitigation plan for wildfire prevention and responses. The DGEIS relies on 2021 emergency service feedback, which is outdated and insufficient. Homes along 9D don't have fire hydrants, and a wildfire here could spread rapidly to neighboring cities. Look at California and how quickly that happened. In case anyone here is unfamiliar, Since 1976, the Riverkeeper has worked to protect and restore the Hudson River from source to sea and safeguards drinking water supplies through advocacy rooted in community partnership, science, and law. I've been to about 90% of those meetings. I don't see all of you there. There's a big fight, and most residents are not in support of this Fjords Trail. Watch the public hearing that was online. You could watch that. Read all of the publicity. There's a great article in the Highland Current recent. Get up to speed and don't send that letter in support.
Yeah.
It's not a support letter.
It is,
No, it's not.
the public hearing for March 1st. Yeah. You said you would support Trail Plan 1.
No, oh, I see. I understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
No,
she
we got
didn't
it.
mean that.
Keep it where it is. Keep it the way it is.
I got it.
The citizens of Fishkill want that. That's what we're gonna do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Ms. LaGoy?
Do you want to get back up? I just want to speak generally in regards to the police commissioner position. I think the thing that concerns me the most is the seeming lack of policies and procedures and how this would be getting done. And, you know, I think as a marketing person myself, to say you sent out an e-gov and the majority of residents would have seen that, I disagree with that. You have 23,000 residents in this town, and there's what? I mean, how many are on the e-gov? 10,000, 12,000, 14,000?
I think there's 9,500 homes, and there's probably 12,000, a little less than 12,000 on it.
Well, there's 23,000 residents,
Yeah, that
right?
includes
And
my
I'm
4
sure
children.
there's,
They're not all
I'm
on
sure
it.
there's some children. You know, again, that if I don't know if we're ever going to be getting a human resources back. That is very concerning that that was eliminated. You know, if there was a human resources department, perhaps that person would be in charge. It's concerning that I'm hearing there is 6 resumes that were received, and we're only looking at 2 people here. I don't know if any of the resumes were shared with everybody, but you know, we certainly heard from former Councilwoman Daniele about her qualifications. I don't know if the other candidate submitted a resume, if anybody has any questions for that person. But it is very concerning also, you know, there seems to be a lot of shuffling around of money. You know, you're establishing this, was this in the budget? Where are we going to see it in the budget? You know, you're talking about a ward system, which is adding 2 more people, and it's what, you all got raises, it's 15,000 now, which I was not opposed to the raises. I think people should be compensated for their work. But so that's adding potentially, what, $30,000 plus health insurance. I think that's new. You know, so it just seems, to me, it's a little bit concerning that, you know, you're talking about a lot of shuffling of money. And I would like to see a better and more concrete process of hiring, regardless of the position. I don't think that it was done properly, frankly. And to send out an e-gov, no offense, because I send out a lot of emails, a fraction of the people actually get all the way through that email. So it is really ignorant to think that that is sufficient to get a notice of a new position of this nature, especially. That you're going to send out an e-gov and think that you're going to be casting a net. You know, as Councilman Rye had said, you're taking a very small pool of people, you're making it even smaller by thinking an e-gov notice is sufficient, and then you just keep on shrinking that down. You know, I for one would like to hear from the other candidate if there's any questions. I don't know, did everybody see the resume? I don't know. I think that it wasn't done properly. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
I'd just like to commend Brian on what he said, that really this town does not need a commissioner. It needs a chief that does his job. A chief that is going to be professional, that is going to work with the police commission. And like somebody else earlier said, if you're looking at like to add people to the board, you've got 5 people that can't get along now, and you want to add more. Bad idea. We need a police chief, and that's probably where you should be starting. Start with getting a chief that does the chief's job. Instead of taking somebody else and giving them all the duties of the chief, but letting them just control everything. And then they can come back and report to you, because that makes so much more sense than having a chief who can do his job and report to the police commission, the people that are hired, the people that are supposed to be reporting to you. Police chief, hired to be police chief, be in charge of the police department, do all those police things, and report to you. If you can't get along with him, that's on you. That's not on the residents to have to pay for a $35,000 thing. And I know you're going to say, oh, well, but that money's not coming from there because we moved that money from here because we did away with this position. Well, you're still taking a cop off the street, I don't care how you want to look at it, to put somebody else in a position who is not a policeman on the street. Now, one last thing, and I'm going to say it, and I don't care whether people like it, they don't like it, it doesn't matter to me because I'm just going to speak my mind, that's just me. I have a real problem with something, and it just showed its face again. Because once again, it came up that, oh, it's a political thing, it's a political thing, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's this, it's that. Well, I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to tell you, Mr. Supervisor, for one, you gave a statement on January 2nd saying you were going to make it right because the other candidates' civil rights were violated, and you were going to make it right. So I'm going to assume this is how you're going to make it right, okay? You turned around, and I'm going to go one step further, and this is going to bite me in the ass. Sorry, Eddie. But I'm going to demand that the supervisor recuse himself from any vote in the matter related to the other candidate who is going up for this position. Because the supervisor himself campaigned for Mr. Bierce on the conservative vote, including a letter to fellow conservatives asking for their vote for Scott Bierce. You're going to stand there and deny it, and that's just fine, okay? That is political. You are the supervisor. If you're going to sit there and you do that, you stand there and say, he was violated, his civil rights were violated, and you are going to make it right on January 2nd. And now here we sit on February 5th, and if you turn around and you vote in the direction of Scott Bierce, you should be ashamed of yourself because you should have to recuse yourself from the vote. Given that you campaigned for that person, can we get some head bobbing now? Because you haven't disrespected enough people sitting up there. All right? And on the other hand, also, that you turn around and you always are bringing up the politics, but you never put yourself in that politics. And you're in that. You're in that. You're a co-chair with Ms. Bardini in the Democratic Party, but yet you were out there getting votes and campaigning for a conservative who evidently, oh, those votes, that's right, that number of votes that that person got in the election allowed Ms. Bardini to be sitting up there. So if you want to sit there and you think that that's just fine and you can put your commissioner position in and you can vote it in because you know you're going to vote it in 3 against 2, then you're going to turn around and you come down to, oh, who are we going to vote for? Are we going to vote for Ms. Daniele or are we going to vote for Mr. Bierce? And guaranteed you're going to vote for Mr. Bierce because you're going to make it right, Ozzy, because that's what you do. Because you're now in charge of civil rights and you're going to make it right. And that's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and it's a slap in the face to the citizens who come here, because for one, we don't need, nor if given the amount of people that would come here, if they could even have known about any of this, because everything goes on the EGOT, so there you go. It is a slap in the face. You're taking, again, a cop off the street, because that's one less lieutenant that could be sitting up at St. Mary's Church keeping people from speeding down the hill, but no, we're going to get rid of him because we need a $35,000 liaison. But what was the reason why we couldn't have, what was it, a $24,000 liaison who was a go-between? Because he wouldn't have had power, and you're willing to give that person that you were backing up all the power over the whole entire police force. Good move, Mr. Supervisor, good move. Very unpolitical of you.
Thank you very much for your time. Anybody else like to speak? Kevin?
That's me. Just briefly on the ward representation, I don't have an opinion either way right now, but we trusted the voters to vote on the proposal in November to sell the property.
Yep.
Over 10,000 flipped the ballot, so I don't think we need to worry about them flipping the ballot, and I think if 10,000 people voted on that, 10,000 people should be able to vote on a fundamental change. Term limits, Mr. Gaba. How would this affect term limits? The code spells out 2 4-year term limits. This would change the nature of the term. So would that have to be revoted on?
It would have to be revised, absolutely.
So
okay, but is it just a revision, or is it something that?
We would have to have a public hearing. We would do, if we went to 2 years, we'd do 4 2-year terms for a total of 8 years.
But is there a chance, depending on the makeup of the board, that term limits could then be voted down?
Well,
does that reopen that?
The situation that, well, there's always a chance they could be
okay.
Say voted down, they would be repealed. But what you would be in a situation of is that you'd have 2-year terms, at least initially, which don't match up with your term limit provisions in the code. So one or the other has to be revised. If you revise the terms to make them longer, you wouldn't have to change the term limits. If you didn't, then you'd have to revise the term limit law.
Okay, so there is a chance the term limits could go away.
There's always a chance.
Okay, I'm just wanted to reiterate that because that's always a big talking point that there are term limits, but.
But we could make it a 4-year term, the ward system.
But it wouldn't be a 4-year term right away, right? So you would have to change the term limits and then change the term limits?
Well,
I'm just saying.
You have two aspects to this, okay? One is the term limit law, which talks about the terms you currently have, which is 4-year terms.
Correct. No, I fully understand that, but I'm just asking.
And the other is the law that's going to be, if it gets put into place.
Right.
Put into place would now make for 2-year terms. So then you have an incongruity, a discrepancy between the existing terms and the term limits. You could, on one hand, change the terms so they're 4 years, and in that case, you don't have to touch the term limit law. If you don't want to change the terms, then you're going to want to, you don't have to, but you should, change the term limit law to make it however many 2-year terms so that you add up to the limit that's in place now.
The 4-year terms for ward representation, that would also be voted on, correct?
It's
that's a referendum as well?
It is.
Yes, right? That's a referendum.
Yeah, they
permissive
changed
referendum.
the permissive referendum from 2 to 4.
So that's a good comment. Can we vote to amend our current term limits to say either 2 4-year terms or 4 2-year terms?
Well, you could do that now, yeah, but it doesn't make sense because there's no 2-year terms.
What I'm saying is add or 4 2-year terms, if enacted in the future. This way we squash it right now. That's a good comment. I was thinking about that.
I don't see why you couldn't, but I'd want to think about it.
Can you give us a memo on that in the near future?
All right, but not for your next meeting.
No,
we understand.
Because we could just vote on we could just have a public hearing.
Thank you, Kevin. That's a very good question.
And then we don't have to worry about this nonsense in the future.
Yes, then it would be applicable regardless of whether, if the referendum passed, you want to put 2-year terms or 4-year terms.
Yes, yes, thank you. Anybody else? All right, next up is resolutions. Do you want to say something first?
I would like to request a brief recess.
I want to do executive session. What do you want to do?
I'd just like a recess.
Okay.
Okay.
2 recesses.
5 minutes. 5 minutes, guys.
I was going to say, it's a good day at school.
Too much water.
Fair. Fair.
All right, next up is resolutions consent agenda. I need the pen.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you. I need to withdraw, I make a motion to amend the consent agenda by moving number 1 to the next town board meeting. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second? We're going to
Second.
move.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a little more savings on this highway department thing.
Okay.
So, the number 1 in the consent has been removed.
We still need to vote on that. You've made a motion to amend the consent agenda. I've seconded it. but
All in
we need
favor?
to- Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now we would adopt the consent as it.
Next up is the consent agenda as amended. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The first resolution is to reduce a water bill for account number 10735. Are you just going to give it to me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, go on, John.
So, a couple weeks ago, when Ozzy brought this up for discussion, one of the questions was there a financial hardship? And the answer was yes, and I didn't think too much of it, so we all voted to shave off $300 off of this bill. However, I did a little nosing around, and our water department people contacted the resident looking at kind of like a high usage on their water bill, saying, hey, this is a higher bill than you usually get. 2 weeks later, it was determined that it was a faulty hot water heater, okay? And to be honest with you, the home in question is in Fishkill, and it's assessed for $725,000. I don't think this is a economic hardship at all. Unforeseen circumstances that cause much of the usage. This is a maintenance issue in somebody's house. And if we're gonna start changing people's tires because, wear and tear, I just don't think we should be paying this bill, even if it's $300.
What do you think, Brian?
Well, I want to say thank you, John, for looking into that, because I will just say this, and this offers us an opportunity to have a little chat about process on how we determine when we do this for someone, because we have done it before, but we do it in sort of an emotional state here. We get, oh, this person, this happened, and we got to go do this. I just feel like we can, other people could come before us and say, I've got a hardship, give me some money. I think we need to develop a process and look at this and before we start, doing things like this. And given what I've learned, and I read some info from John, I'm just inclined to believe that, I've had water lines break. I had everything that I've had that's caused an undue expense I've paid for, and my house is not worth $700,000. I like to think these people aren't house poor, but I just can't go for it.
Yeah, Councilman Foreman is correct. Those are the details. I don't think the price of the house should have anything to do with it. So
you mentioned economic hardship in
the
resolution.
Some people are house rich. That's all they have is a house.
This is a maintenance issue.
Listen,
maintenance.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, but just because somebody has a $700,000 house or $1 million house doesn't mean there's not a hardship. So, but I'm not disagreeing, and I got no problem closing it out, to be honest with you, if that's how you guys feel.
Yeah, I think maybe we should close this out. And Brian, I agree that we can maybe look to standardize, how we review these. I mean, obviously, if there are reasonable accommodations to be made, I think we're all of the same mind that we'd like to make those accommodations where appropriate. But I think we can agree that there is the possibility, if we don't have any type of procedure for that, where there could be an accommodation made in an instance that doesn't actually serve any public benefit. And I'd be happy to work with you and perhaps Mr. Gaba on some language and some procedures that we could have to process these types of requests for the future. I'd be happy to work with you on that.
That'd be good, and I think we should, because we're not heartless.
No,
you
No.
know?
We guys have been fair before with
Yeah,
this.
no,
so,
we're happy to
listen,
make accommodations where they're appropriate, but I think it would be sensible to have a safeguard so that, you know, we don't potentially end up,
Yeah.
you know, biting the bullet on
Yeah.
something where that isn't necessary.
No, well said. Listen, a $700,000, their houses in Dutchess Park, Ray's Rancho is selling for $550,000. There's people that live in this town with houses that are worth $700,000, but that's all they have. Just because somebody has an expensive house doesn't mean they're not suffering too.
I understand.
So,
I do
Madam Clerk,
understand.
just close this out, kill it.
I just feel that, you know.
Resolution
Yeah,
2.
no, listen, you guys did your
Yeah.
homework, that was well done.
Brian, we can, you know, reach out, you know, tomorrow, Friday, get in touch with Steve and see how we can get the ball rolling on a process.
Sounds good. Give me a call anytime. I know you're always busy.
All right, next up is the resolution to provide the town historian with a $2,500 stipend, Resolution 9827, whereas the town of Fishkill maintains the position of town historian, and whereas the position of town historian is held by Robert Picari, and whereas the town board wishes to provide a $2,500 stipend to the town historian, now therefore it be resolved that a $2,500 stipend would be made available to town historian Robert Picari. The stipend would be paid from budget line item 75105.0455. I present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Supervisor, Resolution 3 is 6 pages long. This is the resolution denying consolidation of Glenham Water District. Mr. Gaba, how much of this resolution should be read out loud? Should we simply do the
There should be a
resolved, or
motion.
the determination?
Yes.
Here you go.
But you need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the first 5 pages of this resolution.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. This issue was the most important thing last year. As the town supervisor, I have to do things that I have to do to protect the residents of the town of Fishkill. And a determination was made to me where if I didn't have the votes to go my way, this would have passed. So I did what I had to do to protect the residents of the town of Fishkill. This consolidation is not going to happen. I was with Mr. Gaba last week at the health department. We have an unknown sewer line in the area of Route 9, north of the Duchess Mall, going toward the village.
What, near Snook Road?
Yep. We have water lines confirmed by the health department that the water lines go all the way to Putnam County. You remember that I asked that question?
The water lines, yes.
So the water lines go all the way to Putnam County. Consolidating the water districts would allow those developers to have an advantage, because once you have water and sewer, your property is worth a lot more money and you can subdivide it even more. That was the most important thing in the town of Fishkill for me last year. A private citizen mentioned politics, mentioned what I did. She is 100% correct. But what you need to know is I did it for the best interest of the residents of town of Fishkill, because this failed, and it failed because Councilwoman Jackie Bardini is on the town board. That's why it failed. Also, this water thing was the #1 issue in the Conservative Party primary, and that's why these results happened. And I'll even go back a couple years ago. I don't remember anybody complaining when the opposition did the same tactic when they hijacked the Working Families line that resulted in 3 new board members on this seat. She did. I apologize.
Yes,
Ms.
you
Ann
did,
LaGoy
Ms.
complained.
LaGoy.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
So as your
So did I,
supervisor,
yeah.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect the residents of the town of Fishkill. And that's exactly what I did. I was successful. These water districts are not going to be connected. And I thank God, and you should thank God, that Councilwoman Bardini is on the town board to vote on this thing tonight. So which way are we going to go with this? We don't want this as a no, right?
This is a resolution which denies the consolidation of the districts.
So
if
the
you
ones that want to
don't
deny it
want
should be a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Understood. Determination is now therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Fishkill, Dutchess County, New York, Section 1. Upon the record of the town board is hereby found and determined as follows. A, the notice of the hearing was duly published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. B, all the property and property owners within the proposed consolidated Glenham water districts would be affected equally by the proposed consolidation, although none would be benefited thereby. C, all the property and property owners affected by the proposed consolidation of the Glenham Water District would be included within the limits of the proposed district, although none would be benefited thereby. D, it is not for the public interest to approve the proposed consolidation of the Glenham Water District. Section 2, the proposed consolidation of the water district as fully described in the map, plan, and report by CPL Architecture, Engineering, Planning is hereby disapproved. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. So we want to kill this, it'll be a yes vote.
If you want to
To disapprove is a yes.
Exactly.
Not to let it connect, right?
Yes.
Is a yes. Roll call vote?
We need to move it.
I'm sorry, I'll make a motion to accept. Want to discuss it
Disapprove,
first?
you vote yes. To not disapprove, you vote no.
I know, that's why I'm
put it
sorry.
this-
That's why
Let me put it-
it's
let me
a
put it
complicated
this
thing when you are
Yeah.
voting.
Disapproving.
Yes.
A yes is a no to the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a
Saying
res-
yes is a no.
This is a, yeah, if you want to put it that way.
A yes is no consolidation, is what it equates to.
I'll make a
not how
motion.
I
Can
would've said it.
I'll make a
Second.
motion, can I have a second? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Totino?
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Supervisor Albro?
Emphatically, yes. And like I said, somebody mentioned earlier, elections matter. Just remember that. If Bardini was not sitting at this table today, the consolidation of these water districts would probably be happening right now. And you hear a lot of rhetoric when people come to these meetings and speak. This is so important. It was worth my engagement of what I did, because my number one job is to protect the citizens of the town of Fishkill, and we deal with actors around this town. They don't have that same interest, and sometimes, and I apologize, sometimes I gotta get down and dirty to fight them. Nothing intentional, but I will always do what's in the best interest of the town of Fishkill. My actions were clearly justified, and I was successful, and thank God Councilman Bardini is sitting on this board tonight, because if she wasn't here and somebody else was here, this would be approved, and the developers would be dancing out in the streets in the town of Fishkill.
So,
Yes, yes,
so-
people want to talk about this nonsense,
So-
this is the real deal.
So just to go back in time and talk about how this was a part of a grant that came into being, it was a grant, and no one here on this board, as much as he likes to campaign continuously, is interested in developers. We are, in fact, very concerned about traffic now, aren't we, Mr. Supervisor? We're concerned about everything that was
Councilman-
everything that was done in the way of building before you got in your seat and I got in mine. And we don't like it, and I don't like it. And if anybody tried to bring in a huge development, what would they do? They would have resistance at this board, pretty much by every one of us. So we're all on the same page when it comes to that. And you had your opportunity to campaign, so let's just move on to the next item.
No. If I was not sitting here, there'd be at least another 1,400 homes being built in the town of Fishkill right now. They've changed their dynamic. That's what they've done. They're not doing any zoning changes. That's how strong the citizens of the Fishkill are. When you put people here on the board, then the opposition, currently the minority, takes your position because they know that if they support high-density housing, changing the zoning laws, they won't be sitting here. This is the reason this is changing, because of the citizens of the town of Fishkill.
That I'm
Period.
for. That nobody
You guys,
wants.
no.
That no one's interested in.
Before I was here, zoning variances, everybody forgets Rolling Hills, that big debacle? Come on, guys.
Before you were here, I don't think there's been any housing
Come on.
developments proposed for quite a number of years.
Rolling Hills, that's all you need to know.
You know.
That's true, you did not do it alone.
Right.
He thinks he did.
All right, can we
Listen.
move?
There's five of you there, and you keep saying, Mr. Supervisor, I. You know, it's only you, Ozzy.
Why are you interrupting the meeting?
Everyone else has been talking, so let's just move on.
There's no talking.
I wish I could talk.
Listen.
Okay. So you're talking.
Right.
Point of order.
That's
everybody.
enough, that's
Point of
enough,
order.
that's enough.
Let's be done
The
with
fact,
this now.
the fact of the matter is, make no ifs, ands, or buts about it, the town is run by the citizens of the town of Fishkill, not the developers. Period.
Absolutely.
We all agree on that?
We agree on that.
And today,
that?
the gentleman on my left, before they voted against it, they did vote for the water thing. So I congratulate you on listening to me and coming to my side.
Oh, my God.
I appreciate
I
it.
am too. I'm so glad. Let's move on.
Thank you.
Resolution number 4?
Hey, pal, I can talk if I want to, okay? You bet you're not.
But I
Point of
guarantee
order.
you, I have I can talk on
Point
the
of
board.
order.
Don't tell me I
That's
can't.
enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Next one up. Resolution adopting police commissioner local law ID
Sad night for the residents.
ID number 9842, whereas the town board of the town of Fishkill has before it for consideration a proposed local law entitled Local Law to amend Town of Fishkill Town Code Chapter 29, entitled Police Force, to repeal Article 3 entitled Police Commission, and reenact it to set forth provisions creating the Office of Police Commissioner, and whereas the following due notice of the town board held in a public hearing on the proposed local law, now therefore be resolved as follows. Number 1, that the town board hereby adopts the said local law, and 2, that the local law shall be effective upon filing in the office of the Secretary of State of New York. I'll present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman?
Absolutely not.
Councilmember Rye?
No.
Supervisor Albrecht?
Okay, before I vote, these two gentlemen to my left put up for a resolution to appoint a candidate for police commissioner. How can they recommend somebody when they're against the position just like the candidate? It makes no sense. I am an emphatic yes to this. Motion passes 3-2. Next one
Resolution
here.
5.
Town Board, Town of Fishkill, from Ozzie Albert, Supervisor, meeting date February 5, 2025, resolution to appoint Scott Pierce, Police Commissioner. Resolution ID 9839. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill, New York, Town Board adopted a local law establishing the position of Police Commissioner in the town on February 5, 2025, and whereas the Town Board hereby desires to appoint a Police Commissioner to such position in accordance with the local law, and now therefore it be resolved that the Town Board as follows. Section 1, all whereas paragraphs are incorporated wherein by reference as through set forth in full. Section 2, the Town Board hereby appoints Scott Pierce to the position of Police Commissioner with an effective date of February 12th, 2025. Such appointment shall be at the pleasure of the Town Board. Section 3, the Town Board hereby designates the Police Commissioner position as part-time in accordance with Section 29-15 of the Town Code. Section 4, this resolution shall take place effective immediately. However, such appointment shall not be effective until February 12th, 2025, or upon filing of the local law with the Secretary of State, whichever is later. Section 5, the salary of Police Commissioner shall be $35,000 per year. The question of the adoption of the foregone resolution was duly put to a vote on a roll call, which resulted as follows. I'll present as a motion. Can I have a second?
Before we move to a second, should we invite the candidate to come forward?
Mr. Pierce, come introduce yourself to the residents of Fishkill.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor.
Speak into the mic, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, Councilman Rye, Councilman Foreman, Councilman Bardini, and Councilman Tortini, Madam Tompkins. Good evening. My family, my daughter, and friends, thank you. I'm here tonight to talk about my experience. I've been a police officer for over 40 years here in the town of Fishkill. I started my career in a public service in 1976 as a volunteer firefighter right here in the village of Fishkill. In 1979, I was hired in the town of Fishkill as a part-time dispatcher, and then in 1981, Chief Don Williams appointed me as a police officer. For the next 38 years, I served the town of Fishkill on a part-time basis in all different aspects, from a patrolman to a detective to a sergeant, detective sergeant, lieutenant, and up to a captain. In 1985, I was hired as a full-time police officer with the Metropolitan Transportation Police Department. At the time, it was Metro North. I was assigned at a Grand Central Terminal, Midtown Manhattan. Right on through, I covered all 5 boroughs: Harlem, Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Orange, plus the state of Connecticut. We were commissioned also in the state of Connecticut has police officers. In 1996, I took a sergeant's exam, which I successfully passed and was promoted. 1996 to 98, I was assigned the communication division at 347 Madison Avenue, Midtown Manhattan, which took care of the Eastern Region Railroad, which was the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. In 1998 to 2002, I was assigned to Grand Central Terminal as a patrol supervisor. I supervised between 10 to 15 sworn police officers at any given time. And then in 2002 to 2007, I reassigned to the train station here in Beacon, New York, where I was a patrol sergeant responsible for the 5 counties, Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, Putnam, Westchester, and part of Connecticut. My affiliations, I've been a member of the Dutchess County Chiefs Association, member of the Mid-Hudson Chiefs Association, 1993 to 2002. I was on the executive board of the New York State Union of Police. From 1990 to 2002, I was the town of Fishkill PBA president, and then 2000 to 2002, I was the vice president. Mr. Rye, you asked the question, why does somebody want this position? Well, I love Fishkill. I lived here all my life. My family has grown up here. The town of Fishkill Police Department has been my life. I've been in a public service for most of my life since I was 16 years old. So I'm just looking to get back into it for a little bit, and I think I'd be an asset to the police department, as I know the inners and outers of the place. I've been there for 40 years. People talk about the controversy that is going on with me regarding 2 lawsuits that went on. Yes, my First Amendment rights and Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment rights were violated. And I would hope that any one of you board members here would do the same thing if that happened to you. That's your constitutional rights. I look forward to...
You bring those up, let me just ask you a question.
No, but sure, go right ahead, sir.
I mean, you brought up these court cases, but were they settled, or was there a resolution, you know, one way or the other? Or
Yes, they've been settled, sir.
They were settled?
Yes, sir.
So there's no determination one way or the other on those facts? I just want to
I'm
be
not
clear on that. You know, maybe I'm confused?
I'm not going to get into the legalities of the settlement.
I don't want to know about a settlement. I just know that there was no decision made. It was a settlement, correct? So we don't. You say that as if it's a fact, but it didn't come out in the court case. I'm just asking because maybe I forgot. You know, I'm a senior citizen up here. I forget things. So
They were settled
Right.
legally through
Okay.
the attorneys. Yes.
they were settled.
So I'm not going to get into, you know, we've been here long enough tonight. Like I said, there's been a lot of controversy regarding that. And I hope here moving forward, if I am the candidate, that I can change your folks' minds on myself. Thank you.
Scott, the only thing I'll say is, you know, when people are looking for positions, I would have thought you, the candidate, would have reached out to me on the town board to sit down and talk. I've had one 90-minute conversation with you in my life,
Yep.
which was outside of St. Rocco's a year and a half ago. So I certainly don't have any history with you, good or bad.
Sure.
Right?
But I'll share with you, John, and I think you'll agree, sir. You've seen me for many years dropping my daughters off at the Glenham School and picking them up. And I've seen you doing the same thing. I was involved as the captain here quite heavily with the Glenham School, with those kids. We help needy families there. We help people with bicycle safety during the summer of the kids. I was very involved with the first responders to that school. So yes, and I did share a story with you at what transpired the first time that my First Amendments were violated. And it involved this young lady right here, my daughter, okay? And when I told you the story, Mr. Foreman, you had tears in your eyes. Am I correct in making that
Yeah.
statement?
I got a daughter too.
Mr. Beers, why don't you elaborate on that? Let the citizens of Fishkill see who you
No,
are.
I'm not
don't
gonna-
think we
I'm
should
not
be
gonna
discussing
elaborate.
any types of
No.
controversies
I'm
at
not
all.
going to elaborate on that.
Fair enough.
Mr. Bierce, if you
But-
are appointed,
But you know, Mr. Foreman, how I care about this community, how I care about the children of this community. I'd like to see some stuff done with the stop signs and the stuff that's going on Jackson Street. We had traffic issues here in town when I was a captain. I assigned
You didn't
police-
fix them?
I assigned,
I like
I assigned police officers to 52 and 84 during the rush hours to direct traffic, to try to push that traffic through there. So we try to do those things. If I am the candidate, I look forward to working with all you board members. We have a great police department next door. We have a lot of talent over there. The women and men there are phenomenal. And we couldn't ask for better. And this town and the residents here should be very, very happy of what we have here in this town.
So I just want you to know that, you know, I know there's going to be a vote in about 45 seconds. And my choice, I don't think we need a police commissioner. I've said that a couple times.
I understand that, sir.
However, my choice would be Louise. So when you hear a no vote, it's not an anti-Scott Beers vote, because I don't have a horse in the game.
I understand that clearly,
Okay.
sir, and that's your prerogative.
Mr. Bierce, if you're appointed, will you make sure that the men and women of our police department are all treated fairly in the workplace?
Absolutely.
Will you stand for any mistreatment of our officers by anyone here at the town, or mistreatment of anyone in the town by our officers?
Absolutely not.
Will you engage in good faith with all members of the board equally with respect and without favoritism?
Every single one of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, before we do the vote, the roll call vote, I just want to read it.
It still needs to be seconded.
Okay.
You introduced it as a motion, but we haven't seconded the
Okay,
motion.
I'll second it after, I'll do it over after I read these two letters. Dear Supervisor Albert and Town Board members, we, the undersigned, appreciate the opportunity to participate in the public discourse concerning the recreation of the position of Police Commissioner and the appointment of a qualified person to that important office. We fully support the recreation of the position of Police Commissioner. We believe that the Commissioner will serve as a positive liaison to our town. It will provide improved efficiency within the town government, heighten accountability to the residents, which will in turn foster their trust and confidence. We will also support the selection of Scott Beers to serve as Police Commissioner. Each of us has known Scott Beers since 1986. Speaking as the town's former supervisor for 20 years and councilwoman for 6 years, I have witnessed the dedication, professionalism, police skills, and unselfish character Scott demonstrated daily. Scott served the town, our town, with honor and distinction. Despite the scurrilous, unfounded accusations leveled against him in the recent years, Scott remains a patriot, always willing to serve our town, our beloved town. In conclusion, Jim and myself support creating the police commissioner position and the appointment of Scott Beers to this office. That is going to be signed by former retired Supervisor Pagonis and Judge Pagonis of the town of Fishkill. I got one more letter from Mr. Felix Lopez. Dear Supervisor Albert and the Fishkill Town Board members, I am honored to write this letter of enthusiastic support for Scott Beers for the position of Police Commissioner for the town of Fishkill. With a distinguished career spanning over 4 decades of law enforcement, Scott has consistently demonstrated unwavering dedication, exceptional leadership, integrity, and commitment to the safety and well-being of the communities he has served. His extensive experience in policing, administration, community engagement makes him an outstanding candidate for this critical role. Scott's career with the MTA Police Department began in 1985, where he faithfully served and protected the ridership and employees in the Metro North Commuter Railroad and Long Island Railroad. Scott's tenure as a sergeant at the Grand Central's terminal from 98 to 2002 showcases his ability to manage large-scale operations. As a patrol sergeant of the world's largest transportation facility, Scott supervised officers coordinated with federal and state agencies during heightened alerts and ensured the safety of over 500,000 daily commuters. His interactions with the FBI, Secret Service, and rail traffic control during emergencies demonstrated his capability to handle high-pressure situations with precision and professionalism. Notably, during 9/11 World Trade Center attacks, Scott played a critical role in coordinating MTA police officers with local, federal, and state agencies, demonstrating his ability to lead in times of crisis. His experience in critical incident planning and homeland security assessments making him exceptionally well prepared to address the evolving challenges of law enforcement. While all of this is impressive, what truly sets Scott apart from the other highly qualified applicants is his deep commitment and many years of dedicated service to the town he loves and cares for so deeply. Scott was a volunteer firefighter in the village of Fishkill. He began his Fishkill police career as a dispatcher and worked all the way up through the ranks to detective, lieutenant, and eventually becoming a captain. As captain, he directed the departmental activities, oversaw internal investigations, and played a pivotal role in labor management negotiations. His efforts in coordinating working relationship with volunteer fire companies, medical services, and local businesses were instrumental in keeping our residents safe, ensuring timely emergency medical response, and aiding needy families in the community. I am honored to call Scott a close friend of almost 20 years. Scott has a deep-rooted affection for the town and all the residents who call Fishkill their home. Scott's unique qualifications for this position stem from his genuine compassion, empathy, and strong sense of responsibility. He is dedicated to creating a safe environment where everyone can call and enjoy our beautiful parks, families can thrive, individuals can pursue their careers, and businesses can grow. Given his extensive experience, strategic vision, and unwavering commitment to public service in the town of Fishkill, I wholeheartedly endorse Scott Bierce for the position of police commissioner. I know his appointment will undoubtedly strengthen the town of Fishkill Police Department and enhance the safety and well-being of his residents. Sincerely, Mr. Felix Lopez. I'll present that resolution as a motion now. Can I have a motion? I make a motion. I make a motion. Mr. Gavin, has the process been wrong? Has the process been not followed?
There's no requirement to have either of the candidates speak during the discussion period. It's completely up to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Gaba. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bardini?
Aye.
Councilmember Totino?
Aye.
Councilmember Foreman? No. Councilmember Rye?
Before I vote, I'm making it very clear that I'm so opposed to this position, more than it is personal, and I have to vote no.
I don't know how you vote against the position. We voted to create the position, but that's neither here. An emphatic yes. Congratulations, Mr. Bierce. Could you please come up so I can swear you in?
I got a whole community. Right, and that has to be filed with the state first. This is just.
I don't know. I'm telling her your job. You're busy doing other more important things.
Some fucking assholes. You just decided to start yelling No.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. That I will faithfully discharge my duties of the office of police commissioner according to the best of my ability. Congratulations, Pierce. Mr. Bishop.
Good luck. Well, we're going to Scott. Call me Monday morning.
You gotta appoint Greg as your deputy then.
Scott, call me Monday morning. We're gonna start Monday morning.
It's their right.
Congratulations.
Doesn't start
That's how
till
they not express it. They are entitled to do so.
Yeah, it doesn't start till 12.
It's as simple as that.
We'll start Monday.
Yeah. John. It was scary though, I can tell you that.
Was he sitting down when he went?
Yeah. And Mike Droney said, "You feeling okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm feeling good." And he went back in his chair and I thought he died.
No, we still got an item for special consideration.
Duff.
It's gonna have to be, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Are we done?
No, we got one
Almost.
more.
We have an item for special consideration.
Okay.
Old and new business, and I don't think, we don't have an exec tonight, do we? No. Good, because if we did, I was going to ask.
We're almost
not
done,
do
Becky.
that.
Almost done, Beck. No executive session.
Yeah. Okay.
The only item for special consideration is the...
There is another resolution which must be disposed of before we move there.
Which one?
Resolution number 8.
No, number 6.
6? Oh, I can't read numbers. Okay.
Okay, so number 6, we can't have two police
That's
commissioners, right?
moot, so you should just close it out.
Close out number 6. Next up, item for special consideration, the, what did I do with this thing?
Give me 1 second. I believe it's right here.
Water bill.
Here it is.
School zone.
Signs.
Please ignore the chicken scratch.
Okay, now therefore, this is regarding the, guys,
Still a meeting.
To everyone, we are still in session.
we're almost done there. This one is the...
Ms. Lagoy, we are still in session.
Russ.
We're still in session.
This is regarding the resolution to have Dutchess County install a speed zone sign on Jackson. Now therefore be resolved as follows, that the town board does hereby request and direct the town highway superintendent to submit a request to the Dutchess County Superintendent of Highways posted in the school zone signs on Jackson Street near St. Mary's School. And 2, the town board does hereby request and direct the town clerk to send a certified copy of the resolution to the Dutchess County Superintendent of Highways. I present as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I got nothing new. Anybody got anything new?
Nope.
Everybody good with that? The
Yeah.
only thing is we're going to discuss this EMS stuff. We got to get into this.
All right.
John
Yeah.
and me are pretty tight on this.
Yep.
Besides that, the next town board meeting is when? The 17th? The 19th?
19th.
It's
Wednesday when we come back from AOT.
Okay.
You'll be missed, Greg.
I know. Yeah, you got to squeeze in on that one. So next
I'm gonna
town
have to
board
call
will
Mike
be...
Trump or tell him to call off my steak dinner.
I know. Next board meeting will be February 19th. Thank you all for watching. God bless. Good night. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Aye.
I saw you.